And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico, and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token lefty. And together, we go through what's going on in the news. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that it's possible for a lefty and a righty to actually get along. And even if we don't agree, you know what we do? We have a conversation like normal human beings. Because never forget, common sense has no political affiliations. What's going on, bro? I cannot hear you. Oh, hold on. I don't know if it's me or it's you. Let me check. No, it's definitely you. What's going on, man?
Good, brother. How was your weekend? Lots of traveling over the last week. We made her work, but
dude, 13 hours driving just yesterday.
Good morning, Prairie. Good to see you again, bright and early.
Yeah, what's going on, Prairie? Yeah, so 13 hours just yesterday, man.
Yeah, because you weren't going to get into town until tonight, right?
The plan was to actually the original plan was to get here on Tuesday. So that was the original plan, but you just
wanted to make it all in one go.
Again, that was not the plan. When we left yesterday, the plan was to do it in 2 days to show up here today, like to get as close as possible to the border, like maybe an hour and a half outside the border, and then cross the border because where we are in Montreal is about an hour from the border, give or take.
Yep.
So just cross over. It would have been simple, but yeah, I started driving, and sometimes I do that, man. I've driven a lot in my life. Like over the past 3 years, we've driven at least 20,000 miles. So I will, when I get into it, I'm just driving, and I'm like, fuck. I think it'd be easier if we just go. We just go. Let's just go.
Yeah, I hear you. Also, I suppose it's probably easier to do the show for sure than figuring doing side of the road and all that stuff.
Yeah, but it's more than that, man. It's a pain, and I do not like to sleep in hotels. Absolutely dread.
Oh, really? I kind of like it.
No, I know a guy that him and his family owns the equivalent of Best Western. So they have those like they're filthy fucking rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they own massive hotel rooms. And, he told me years and years ago that, the comforters that are on the bed, do you know they never wash them?
I heard that.
They don't have machines. They don't have machines big enough to wash them.
Really?
That's why a lot of the hotels, if you look now, they have those tiny ones.
Yeah.
They can take off. Hey, bro, if you ever seen you look at the black light when they come in and they start showing shit. I've seen so many videos of the women are cleaning the bathroom, and the old school glasses, like you would actually have the glass. They're wiping down the counter, then they wash the glass with the same fucking cloth. I know how disgusting people can be.
I feel like
it disgusts me.
I used to see this guy who did content where he just went to hotel rooms and ran a black light over it, and it was fucking nasty. The stuff you see, man.
I will sleep. Me in a hotel room, I swear to you, it's brutal. I will. I keep my socks, my pants, my hoodie. I've slept in a hotel room where I didn't have my pillow. I put my hoodie on, so I made no touch. Like this week,
would you say you're a germaphobe?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Fuck, I'm a martial artist, bro. I've had people sweat in my mouth,
be.
bleed in my mouth. It doesn't bother me at all. There's something about hotel rooms that just disgusts me. I don't know what it is. Just last week, my wife had brought her comforter, and I put it on top of the bed and slept on the comforter. I did not make. Oh, bro, it's in my.
Just in your head.
It's just fucking. Oh no, but you find hairs. You find find things in hotels. I'm like,
yeah. Do they? What about Airbnbs? Same thing, or does that feel differently to you?
For some reason, it's different. I
know what you mean.
fully aware it's in my head. I am not debating the fact that, bro.
At least you
I
know
can
that you're being retarded. It's like,
bro.
at least you can accept it. Sometimes I'm like that with some things. I'm like, listen, I know I'm being an idiot. I just let me have this thing. Just let
But
me
it's
do
the
this.
bed. It's really the bed. The bed disgusts me. I can drop my sandwich or whatever I'm eating on the ground in the street. I'm still gonna
You're
pick it up
fine.
and continue walking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But there's something about
That
sleeping
bad.
in a bed where a bunch of people fucked in it that it wasn't me. That absolutely disgusts me. It's so disgusting.
Yeah. That's really funny. Jason, how's it going, brother? And guys, remember, do not forget to smash that like button and like and share the show. Again, hopefully you guys all had a great weekend. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know how your weekend went. And we looks like we got a pretty full show. But just before we start, Jason, I want to address some of the stuff we were talking about on Friday. I even texted him over the weekend to let him know. But I was following this. Remember the story
on Friday? You mean Thursday? Because we didn't have a podcast on Friday, right?
That's right, Thursday. Remember the show?
Unless you motherfuckers did one behind my back.
Don't tell Nico.
Whoop! No, that's not what I meant.
No,
That's not what I meant.
But no, we remember it was the second deportation case with the woman. I forget her name. I was following that story, and I really actually don't know that they have anything on her. I think it is just that. It does feel like a witch hunt. So just wanted to give Jason a little bit of credit there. But as I said then, right, I was withholding judgment until further information. And I think when I said I want to hear what the government has to say, that doesn't mean I'm going to give them unlimited time, right? Like I'll give you a day or two, but if you're going to say, oh, you'll find out in the trial, like I'm not going to buy that, because if you're going to talk about deporting anyone, it's got to be in the public domain, right? If they have secret footage of her being, talking in her dorm room to someone about being pro-Hamas, I don't think that qualifies. Mahmoud Khalil, what he was doing was in the public domain. We didn't need to wait for the government to see what they had. We saw what they had, and to me that seemed legit. But yeah, just wanted to put that one out there, Jason. You might have been right on this one. But don't go getting cocky or anything.
The fact that he might have been right or wrong doesn't really matter. That she's going to have a case. Like she's going to be able
for sure. Yeah.
to plead. And as we all know, people are sometimes found non-guilty.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And even still, the detention is part of the due process. That's what happens.
Yeah. But again, it comes back to, what I was saying last week, and I've been saying the same thing for Mahmoud Khalil. If they did not do what they did, they wouldn't have a target on their back. I'm not saying that it excuses the government to do something that's wrong. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying the government's done anything wrong up to now. What I'm saying is if you didn't put yourself in that situation, the government wouldn't have known about you. So no matter what, they kind of shut themselves in the foot from the get-go. Years ago, I had a conversation with my sister where she completely lost her shit. Do you remember? We spoke about this, the fappening.
She lived.
Remember
right?
that?
Oh, the fappening?
Yeah. Yeah. The fappening, right? So she was all up in rage and saying that men that looked at those pictures they're almost rapists, basically. And I'm sitting there and I look at her, I'm like, you know what? If she never took those pictures, they wouldn't exist. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's her fault, but if she did not take those pictures, those pictures wouldn't have, at least back then, there was no AI. Today, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah. There's not a lot we can do. I mean,
no, there is actually there is. Funny enough, man, I don't know why I didn't think about that. We should have brought that up. I listen to a lot of talk radio if I'm driving, right? I absolutely I don't do this because I have to. I fucking love this stuff. I listen to people talk about politics all the time.
Yep.
And Ted Cruz supposedly is coming up, just passed or is trying to pass legislation. I should investigate it more, but he was on a radio station that I was listening to, and he basically is trying to pass legislation that will make it illegal for social media platform to not take down a post if requested by the person. So let's say that in the case of the fappening, you would have social media platforms that would have reposted the pictures, if the person that is on the picture calls or gets in contact with the social media,
Yep.
they have something like 48 hours to take it down, or else they get it. And you know what? I don't like censorship, but this is like if you don't have my consent, because they were talking about a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old girl that somebody at her school went on AI, like a ChatGPT or a Grok, created false naked pictures of her and started posting it online. And Snapchat refused to take it down. So they've been at it for 9 months. You know how long it took for him to get it down? He told his assistant, he's like, "You're gonna get me the president of Snapchat on the phone today." They did. They took the post down, but that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have. So it's interesting that those problems did not exist in the times of the happening. But all to say that back then, if you didn't take those pictures, they didn't exist. Today,
and I appreciate what you're saying there. Like, you know, it's not necessarily their fault. I feel like there's always this rush to have blame to every single situation, and for sure there are some where it's appropriate. Sometimes just there isn't blame to be put on. I mean, I guess in that one, the blame would go on the person who hacked the accounts for sure. But
of course,
you know,
I'm not saying that I don't apologize for that's illegal.
Yeah, right? Absolutely, right. And it, you know, just to say, well, if they didn't take the picture, they wouldn't be out there. You know, that isn't necessarily blaming them. That is just like those are the risks. Like, there's always risks to everything that we do, and you know that is one of the risks of taking those kind of pictures. And I don't even have a problem. You know, if you want to take those pictures, that's fine. That's your business. But you know, there's always risk. You know, it's funny when someone does something and then they should have known that there's going to be a risk to that behavior, and then it ends up biting them in the ass, and they act like, "Oh no, like I couldn't have foreseen this." And
especially celebrities, that the only reason we don't enjoy celebrities because they're extremely intelligent and we respect their opinion. They're fucking actors. They make music that they do well. The rest, we don't really care. But at the end of the day, the only reason that they're rich is because they're in the public eye. People want to know about them, want to see them, want to get anything they can from them. If you got a bunch of perverts that knows that there's naked pictures of them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
just saying.
Yeah,
I would never look at such pictures, obviously, but you know.
No, of course not. But I mean, you might take a second before you delete it. Just, you know, take a little. Maybe your thumbs were working slow that day or something.
That can't be right. I don't believe that this is actually happening. Let me confirm that this is true.
Yeah, no. Okay, I guess it's true. Jason says, how sad that we've become that the person who posted that is not willing to just take it down themselves.
Oh, that's
right.
That's just exactly horrendous.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, especially in especially in the world of AI, where someone could have done absolutely nothing wrong and still have there has to be a mechanism. So I mean, I'm not Ted Cruz's biggest fan, but you know, kudos.
Have you ever read his book?
Which one? No, I haven't. Definitely.
You should. Hold on. Ted Cruz. I was very surprised. I was not a big fan of his either.
Yeah.
And so there is his last book called Unwoke. He released it in 2023. Brilliant. Okay. Absolutely brilliant. Because you don't know, but his father is from Cuba. He was a massive communist. He actually helped Castro get in power. And then completely regretted it and migrated to the US and started talking against communism. His story is very cool.
That's actually story. Really, I guess Cruz. Yeah, that's a Hispanic last name. I guess I never really thought of that.
Actually, he's Chinese. His mother's not.
Prairie, sexual enema. No, that is illegal. Exactly right. There has to be a mechanism to take those things down, especially
because this is exactly what I was saying. Because technically, that girl was 14 or 15, so technically that's considered
child porn. Yeah.
Pedophilia, but it's not real. So where the fuck did that fall?
That's an interesting legal.
Because I was thinking about that as they're talking. I'm like, in my head, that's pedophilia, but then it's AI. It's not real pictures. So where the fuck do that fall?
Yeah, I wonder where that would fall on the legal spectrum. If you could,
I don't think it exists. I don't think that there's a precedent yet.
Well, yeah,
I don't think the precedent exists.
Maybe that means that it's time to update. You know, we constantly have to update laws to reflect
100%.
Technology. But I'd be interested to see that legal arguments on that, because on the one hand, it's completely, you know, made up. But on the other, if it shows a minor in a sexual scenario, it technically is child pornography.
That whole fucking, I use AI all the time to help me on posts, like suggest different wording and stuff like that. But that thing where they create fake, like deep fakes and all that stuff,
it's creepy. It's really creepy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you put a stop to that. It's just a very strange time to be alive. Very strange time because you don't know what's real. You have how many? Do you know that there's so many content creators that with massive accounts that don't exist? They're all fake. They're all AI. They're all controlled remotely. As in, I can literally I could create a AI version of myself. I know the program. I've already played with it. Not that I was interested in doing it, but I wanted to see what the result was. Bro, it can talk like me. It can move like me. They need about 2 minutes of my speech. It will duplicate my voice. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Wow. That's crazy. That's really crazy.
The program's about $49 a month. That's how cheap you can do it too.
That's all it is. Wow.
Yep.
All right. So Jason says, me personally, I don't want them to hide behind a username. I want the real name, who they are affiliated with, so we know who not to deal with. Yeah, I mean that's a good point too. That's sort of what Nico has
what
said
do you mean?
about the people who are making these videos, who are posting these things on social media.
The problem with that, I get the idea of this, but I'm completely against what you just said. I completely disagree with you on that one. Because in order to do that, that means that the social media platform will have your personal information, as in they will need to have a good ID. Like me, I'm verified on all platforms. That's different. In order to prove who I am, I had to give them IDs. But in order for social media, in order to be able to establish that, to make sure that it is you, real username, you're trackable, that means that the government needs to get involved to prove who you are. And by doing that, that means there's no more, you cannot be anonymous online anymore. That means the government's capable of tracking every single thing you're doing online because they can track you through your social media. And that's what Australia is trying to put in place in 2025. Like, I think they have, again, 6 months to 9 months. Right now, they're trying to make it happen. But this is what they want to do. They don't want to have kids. I think it was below the age of 15 or 16. I'd have to relook into it, but they wanted to ban certain teenagers not to have social media. And the only way that they can do that is by everybody proving that they're above 18. How do you do that? You have to prove your identity. That means that you have your address, your real name. People can track everything that you do online and associate it with you. I have a big problem with that.
Yeah. Do you think that they can't already do that though? Do you think? Yeah, I kind of feel like they already can.
It's called a cell phone.
Yeah, it's
called right there, right?
So, man, the other day, I was talking just to my girlfriend about getting a ladder or something. Needed a ladder to do some work around the house.
Yep. And then your cell phone suggests. Yep.
Hours later, I'm bombarded with ladder ads.
Yep.
I even got a junk email pointing to a ladder ad on like Amazon. It's pretty scary what they're doing out there.
There was a guy, to prove a point, he says, I don't have a cat. And this was a couple of years ago, but he's like, I don't have a cat, but me and my wife are going to start talking about litter. Just something that would never come up, like they would never research. And then somehow it starts suggesting types of litter. You start getting, and that was years ago. Like, this is not something that just happened. This is something we've been aware for a long time, but your cell phone listens to you. Of course, they can track you, but you know that if you use VPNs, there's certain technology that you can use that makes it extremely hard. Difficult. Yes, they need to, because the thing is, and I think this is the part that most people don't understand, is it's not because the government's capable of tracking you that they're necessarily looking at what you're doing, but what they do, and the NSA is renowned for doing this. Do you know that when I was in telecommunication, when I was still working as a sales engineer, a lot of the companies like banks, a lot of the companies that deals with the classified information, they wanted us to prove that our networks did not go through the US, so that we could transport their Canadian content on the Canadian network, because it's all known that the NSA duplicates every single piece of any 1 and 0s that goes through the US is duplicated and copied on the NSA databases. So they save it all. This is a known fact if you were in the field that I was in. And I'm not saying that they necessarily look at it, but if they ever need to investigate you, they do have all that information saved somewhere.
Exactly.
They can get it.
Yep.
And with AI, bro, with AI, look for this, enter. It's going to scan everything for you. AI makes things very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a game changer for sure. It's kind of like it's interesting because it's kind of like reminds me of when the internet first came out. You knew it was going to be a game changer, but you weren't quite sure in which way. And then and I think we're kind of in that stage. I think it's clearly going to change a lot of things, but it's probably going to do so in ways we're not even thinking about right now.
Hey, hold on, go back higher, because Jason, I didn't know that, man. Isn't Ted Cruz actually?
I think he was born in Canada.
Yeah, I don't think he's part Canadian. He was born in Calgary, Alberta.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know what was it, but they didn't stay there. They didn't live there for any length of time. Is that what it is?
No, like his father's Cuban, Rafael Cruz, and his mother is an American, Eleanor Derag, but he was born in Calgary, Alberta. So I guess well, technically, I don't know if he has a citizenship, but technically, I don't know, because he's not
weird. Because wasn't he running, or he was talking about running for president a couple of years back?
But he can. But no. But if you were born in Canada, that doesn't necessarily make you Canadian. No, but that doesn't necessarily make you Canadian or not American, because his mother's still American. So technically he's American. He was just born in a different country. Although we can argue that a lot of people do that. They go to the US so that their kids are born there. And what are they called? Dreamers? Is that not how they're called? Like dreamers?
I think dreamers are the kids who were brought here, like they came with their parents. They were kids, so they didn't really have a choice in it. And then they grew up.
Yeah. There was a term for that. I can't remember what it's called.
All right. So Prairie says, in Canada, if you really need to find out who's behind the account, you need a Norwich order. I'm actually not familiar with that, but I figure that there would be some mechanism if you had to do it that will force the social media companies to do so. It's interesting. There's I don't know if you're following, but Billboard Chris, who was on the show a couple weeks back, he's in Australia right now, fighting a free speech case. So he made a post, and the Australian government demanded that X take that post down, and they refused. And they eventually did have to take it down, but both Elon Musk and Billboard Chris are now suing the Australian government for that, saying basically, how do you have the right to take down posts anywhere in the world? Like, you may have jurisdiction within Australia, but you do not within other countries. So it'd be interesting
to go back to Prairie. A Norwich Pharmacal Order, NPO, is a court order compelling a third party to disclose information or documents that are relevant to a potential or actual legal claim, even if that third party isn't directly involved in the wrongdoing. God damn, we got some smart fucking listeners. But it was, back in the days, I worked in a network operations center, so we would get orders sometimes from the RCMP. They would come up to us and say, okay, we have reasons to believe that this certain IP, it belongs to your network.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Like there was a procedure if it was for pedophilia. So this is I think it's the only time that we would actually work with our CMP agents is they would call us. We had a procedure. They talked to a specific guy on our team, and they would reveal who that IP address belonged to, so that they could investigate as to why the fuck is he looking at kids.
Is there any burden of proof needed, or like did they do that with a judge and they just hand you the order?
We weren't part. I was never the one dealing with it. It was always one of the managers that would deal with it. But I know that we've had those conversations often. I don't know what ends. Like we're really not involved as to how did it get there and what's the next step, right? We're really just saying, here's the IP address belongs to your network. We know that it's one of your users that's using it. Tell us which account it belongs to. Okay. And then I know that we've done it in the past, but I've never really asked what the procedure was, bro. I was like 25 years old.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's about, I was way too busy getting drunk and doing other shit than I got bigger problems, bro.
Being 25, yeah.
Yeah,
Steven,
yeah.
good to see you, brother. How was your weekend? So Steven says, how about that ice storm over the weekend? Tax dollars being put to good use, clearly. And in case you're wondering what he means by this, he goes on, glad my dollars are going to fund lesbian underwater tap dancing in Moldova instead of robust infrastructure and emergency response at home. And I mean, hard to argue with. It's pretty hard to argue with. And you know, if you wanted to make the case, be like, say they're not connected, but you're opening yourself up to the shit when you have deficiencies at home and there are things you are not investing in, and then you are invested in that nonsense, like that bullshit. I don't really give a shit if Bangladeshis take a dump on their beaches, right? I don't want to spend $30 million to educate them not to do that. They can do whatever the fuck they want on their beaches. I don't understand. And that's an actual program that we did. I don't understand it. So I mean, Steven, you know, I'm right there with you, brother. I think a lot of people are getting real sick of this shit. Now, you know, I think we've talked about this stuff before.
Bangladesh taking dumps on their beach, and you use the word shit. They're tired of this shit. Literally, we're really tired of this shit. Nice. Well played, sir. Well played.
But like, you know, we've talked before about like, listen, if we have everything squared away at home, if we've got all of our shit done, then sure, you want to do that.
That ain't the fucking case.
We are not even close to it. And for our American friends, there was a massive ice storm here in. You guys probably got. Did you guys get hit in Montreal? It was mostly in Ontario.
For us, but I drove right through it because I'm Canadian, so we don't worry about that type of shit.
Something
we're
like
we're not Americans. We're used to dealing with this type of shit.
It's funny when you get like 2 centimeters snow down in Florida, and it's just fucking just cars in the ditches as far as the eye can see.
A few years ago, I think we were in Austin, Texas. It actually snowed, and people are just fucking devastated.
No idea.
I'm doing donuts in the parking lot because, you know, with 2 inches, I'm with the truck and I'm like, I'm just because it's super slippery. I'm like having the time of my life as a Canadian. But
that's funny. But yeah, I mean, so I think it's something like 400,000 or 500,000 Ontarians are without power. There's no way that should happen. You know, certainly, and I think it's still, last I checked, maybe an hour ago, it was still 300,000. So it's, I mean, it's a serious issue. Because it's funny, I didn't see it that much in the news. I was kind of surprised. I just came across it on X, but
fake news.
Yeah, they want to, you know, they don't want to highlight their incompetence.
Wow, that's interesting how that works. Huh?
Yeah, Prairie. They just charged him in Australia just recently. So that is Billboard Chris. Yeah, they as soon as he got there, he was cited by the police for an $890 fine. Yeah, for disturbing the peace, despite him, like there was footage of him literally just standing there with a billboard. That's all that he does. And so what I've really seen, though, is the Australian media is really latching on to that story. I see a lot of mainstream Australian articles about Billboard Chris, and he seems like he's doing a lot of really good things down there. So guys, definitely follow that story.
Well, it's like what was his name? What's the name of the tennis player that he was world champion during COVID, and he's like Djokovic, yeah. And they asked him, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go, but I'm not fucking getting vaccinated, bitches." And he's just like, you know what? My vaccination, me being unvaccinated, matters more than winning another
one tournament. Yeah.
Talk about that. That's a baller statement. Love the guy or not, he's like, he's the best. Chances are he was going to win and make a shit ton of more money again, add another trophy to the case. And he's just like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah, well, he got so much hate too at the time from the media, right? And
from Australian media. Oh, yeah. Absolutely dreaded him. I was clapping like, good for you, bro. It doesn't mean I like you, but I gotta respect you.
Yeah, no doubt. He talks the talk and walks the walk as well.
Yeah, man.
Prairie says the Barrie area got hit with the ice storm. Lots of trees damaged. Steven, I was without power or heat for a full 24 hours. No heat either. I mean, that can be a serious life or death emergency.
Yeah, well, Yeah, because it's still pretty cold out there, right?
Yeah, people fucking die in ice storms. Absolutely, they do.
That's
And
why hugging is so important.
that's right. Just make sure you don't
Find
make eye
someone to
contact.
hug.
Yeah,
As
just make
long
sure you don't make
no,
eye
I'd
contact.
suggest you do it doggy style, like one in the back, one in the front.
Doggy style hugging.
Doggy style hugging, brother. That's the way to do it.
Mm,
Hey, 20, 30 minutes in.
we'll get to the topics. What do we got
Yeah,
on the agenda for today?
we obviously need to talk about Trump's third term. Obviously, it's at the bottom. We need to
Yep.
talk about it.
Yeah.
We need I wanted to mention the new tariffs they're going to come on Wednesday.
Steven,
Eye contact
is man to know. I
yeah,
suspected
but
you
hold,
might. Yeah, I
yeah,
suspected you
bro,
might feel that
but
way.
you're a bit gayer than I am. Let's just be honest here. If I don't
believe
make eye
Steven is
contact,
gay. I mean,
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That was the comment.
Yeah,
That's the difference between a straight man and a gay man, right there.
Well, yeah.
Eye
I mean,
contact.
yeah.
It's not gay to it's not gay to get your dick sucked, as long as
Just
you're
don't
not the
make
one doing the sucking.
Yeah, just don't
But
make
you
eye
can't make eye
contact.
contact.
Yeah,
That
that's the rules.
if you cross that is the line.
Yep.
If you cross the eye contact barrier, you are not gay.
We didn't make the
You
rules.
are now gay.
That's how it goes.
We just respect them. We just respect them. And I'm French enough. I don't need like we already have tendencies, so we got to be careful.
Yeah.
So
You get y'all.
Trump. So let's concentrate. Let's try to concentrate on this one. So Trump's third term. We're going to talk about the new tariffs that are coming up on Wednesday. Finally, Mark Carney spoke with Trump. And starting right now, I wanted to mention that Rob and I were talking about this. Since the elections are going on in Canada, we're going to try to give you some type of an update every day.
Yeah.
If something's worth mentioning, we'll make sure to mention it. But so every day we'll take a few minutes to just talk about what's going on with the election. And there's something that Rob brought in, and I've been following that woman for a while now because I follow French politics because I'm always curious. They're the only one in Europe right now outside of Poland that's kind of Italy. That's not true. Italy, they're pretty right winger now. Poland, they're pretty Christian. I love what they're doing there.
Yep.
But Marine Le Pen has been trying to kind of switch it, and now chances are she's going to end up in prison for not racketeering, but what was the term?
Embezzlement.
Embezzlement, thank you. But I found a great video. So obviously I have a news video, and then I got a very big influencer in France that, man, she has like 1 million followers, and she explained what actually happened. And she used to work in the parliament, and she actually kind of explained what she did and how all the parties out there are doing the same thing. So it seems like a massive coincidence that they're just going after the right winger for this when it seems that they all do it. Yeah. So this is what we got for today. Clearly, we're 32 minutes in. We're already in it. We're already ready to go. But I want to ask you a question. Simple question. Do you think that Trump will put reciprocal tariffs on Wednesday? Do you honestly think that he will give Canada reciprocal tariffs, or is it just a negotiation tactic? That's my question to you.
He's saying he's going to, right?
On April 2nd is the date that he's been talking about for at least a month, because remember, he had moved it a month later. And they even have a name for it. They're calling it Liberation Day. That's how Trump is calling April 2nd. I'm telling you, I have a video for you, but
okay. All right.
Liberation Day, like, goddamn. So, but as we spoke before, Trump is good at moving the needle. Like, does he plan to build Jason, don't start on this one. I'm just using it as an example. I'm not opening up the door to the conversation. But is he really going to level Gaza and start building hotels? Is he really going to put, you know what I mean? Like, is he really getting involved, or he's just trying to piss people off? Does he want Canada as the 51st state? Who the fuck knows? So, you know what I mean? Is he just fucking around? Is it a negotiation tactic like he always does? Or do you honestly believe that he will put 25% reciprocal tariffs on?
Is that on top of what he's already put on?
But he hasn't put them on really yet. He keeps on pushing them, right? They're not on yet.
Oh no, I was under the impression we had some on.
No, that's because That's because people are exaggerating. Because remember, he pushed it. It was supposed to start in March. He pushed it a month, but April 2nd is the actual firm date. Right now, there's outside of what was already existing. Supposedly, you know that we have some on cheese, dairy and stuff like dairy and poultry.
Yeah.
But right now it's all talk.
Huh.
So
yeah.
Just
No, I kinda,
our media is just very good at spinning shit and making us feel bad. But right now, as far as I know, it's nothing is concrete. But April 2nd is the date that they should actually come in.
So yeah, I'm just reading here. There is 25% put on March 4th on 30 billion of goods. A lot of it does seem like it says here, live poultry, meat, poultry. A lot of it's poultry related. Yeah, okay. So it's
But
probably
that is directly because we do it to him, like we do it to American Goods.
Yeah,
he did it, but like the things like on auto parts, on electricity, on whatever we export over there, it hasn't come into effect yet.
yes.
So we'll talk about that. And that's where we're start. I found a video this morning actually that is going to make this week very interesting. Like it's a video that actually talks about what happened in the past couple of days and what's this week's going to be about. We're in for a very, very fucking interesting week. So let me play the first video here so that we can actually get it started. Where is the one? I have so many videos for today. Absolutely insane. That's the him talking. Oh yeah. Hold on. I think that's the one right here.
President Trump's slate of sweeping tariffs set to go into.
Nope, that's not that one. I have so many. And you know what's interesting? I found a bunch of videos and with really good women talking about it too. Very strange. This is very good looking women talking about it. This is a pure coincidence. This was not done on purpose. I am not that type of guy. But it was, for some reason, I found a bunch of videos with good looking women talking. Sex sells, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just take a question here while you're doing
Go
that.
for it. Yeah, man.
Steven says, everyone is going right, but more importantly, everyone is moving populist, and the people celebrating Le Pen won't be celebrating when they come for the left-wing populists soon enough, too. That's a great point. I think that what a lot of gets played off as culture wars is actually class wars, if you really dig down into it. And I think that's interesting because I think that's a good insight into where I think we're going. And I think, as you said, that's just the way it goes, right? Like the people who celebrate authoritarianism on one side, the pendulum always comes back and swings against them on the other. So I think they would be very wise to be careful about what they're doing.
So I got the video right here.
Trump is not ruling out the possibility.
So just so you guys know, it's not just about his third term, but he talks about the tariff. It talks about what Elon Musk did over the weekend. Like the video is just goes into detail onto what's coming to, and then we'll break it down from there. But here's the first one.
President Trump is not ruling out the possibility of seeking a third term, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution's 22nd Amendment. He's joked about it at rallies.
It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times.
But now, in an exclusive phone interview with NBC's Kristen Welker, he says that there are, quote, methods for doing so, and that a lot of people want me to do it. Asked to clarify, he said, I'm not joking, but added it is far too early to think about it. Asked about one possible method, Vice President J.D. Vance running for president and then passing the baton if he won, Trump responding, quote, well, that's one, but there are others too. The president later speaking on Air Force One.
I don't want to talk about a third term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go.
President also,
you know, he's very good at keeping himself in the news cycle.
He's the master of the troll.
He's the troll master.
Yeah,
he's the troll master, 100%. But I got the video he was talking about. So the girl that he from NBC that interviewed him, supposedly on the phone, that we can't find the video or the conversation. All I could find is her talking. So before we go further, just let me play
Trump
the
called
other.
me this morning. We discussed a range of topics, including the possibility of him serving a third term. He's joked about it.
I've raised a lot of money for the next race that I assume I can't use for myself, but I'm not 100% sure.
But these were his most extensive comments yet. He told me he's not joking. He said there are methods by which you could do it, but he said it's far too early to think about it. He said he's focused on his current job. At the same time, I did press him on those methods. There's been some discussion about the possibility of Vice President J.D. Vance running perhaps at the top of the ticket with President Trump running in the number 2 slot and then swapping if they were to win. President Trump telling
As I'm listening to this, no, but hold on. You know what's interesting about what she just said is that sounds like that is what I think Trudeau did for Mark Carney in Canada.
Yeah, kind of.
Did what she just said. I didn't think about this when I heard it the first time earlier, but now I'm like, oh boy, are you following Canadian politics, woman?
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually. I can see that. Now, I don't think in this case, I don't think that's gonna fly. You know, basically, remember in school when you go to frontsies, backsies, right? And to get you butt in front of the guy in lineup, and then he lets you get him. But you know, it seems like they're doing some political frontsies, backsies here, and I don't think I don't even think they'd be dumb enough to try that. And frankly, if they did that and it happened, JD Vance would probably be like, "Yeah, I'm actually not gonna do that. I'll probably just stay president. Cool." I don't know.
He would probably say, "Hey, baby hands."
Yeah. All right.
Hey, small hands. Bye.
Yeah, I don't think Trump would. I just don't think that would happen. Now,
me.
I mean,
you want to finish this because the video's not finished.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make fun that it made me sound. It made it sound like what I believe happened in Canada.
Yep.
That is a method. He said there are other methods. I asked if he could give me details, and he said flatly no. Now, President Trump's allies have said that they are seriously looking at this.
We're working on there. We're not prepared to talk about it publicly, but in a couple of months, I think we will be.
Here's what you need to know, though. It is incredibly complicated to change the Constitution. Serving a third term is prohibited by the Constitution. So this is something that would be far out of reach by any measure. And again, President Trump insisting for right now, he's focused on his current job. President Trump.
You know, the whole thing sounds like a massive clickbait.
Oh yeah.
He literally says he said it in kidding. They keep on pushing him, so of course he's trolling. He's trolling. But you know, with all that said, with all the exaggeration that we've said that we just talked about, he wants to focus on his main job right now, which is he's 8 weeks in, motherfuckers. He still has like almost 4 years to go. 3 years and 10 months. There's work to do.
That's crazy. I mean, there's really only one way he can do it, and that's to change the 22nd Amendment, which can be done. I mean, they're called amendments for a reason because they amend the Constitution, and you obviously can amend amendments. However, it will be difficult to do. But if they're able to do it, because there's a mechanism to change amendments, if they're able to do it, then obviously they were able to do it. Like they would have to have fairly broad support in order to change the amendments. And if they can, then I mean, it is what it is. You know, he'll be allowed to run.
To me, it's just pure politics. He just loves to fuck with people. And so this weekend I was visiting with 2 of my friends, and my buddy's a lot older. Like he's going to turn 70. And
oh shit,
yeah, no, he's kind of like my mentor. He's like a father I never had type of deal. And his wife is very like I fuck with his wife all the time. Like I'll say something outrageous just to get a reaction out of her, and that's exactly what I was telling her. I'm like, you know, if you stop reacting to my comments, I'm like a child. I'm gonna stop because I'm a troll. I love to throw a shit grenade in a room and just walk away. And that's all to me. That's all he's doing. That's all he's doing right now. He likes
I'm not taking it too seriously. I don't think. And at the end of the day, of course, the libs are going to get triggered and you know, kind of freaking out about. I don't think there's any mechanism for him to just do it. Like it would have to change the 22nd Amendment. But if he was able to do that, then it wouldn't be an authoritarian move. It would be legal.
But until then, he's going to troll them and troll them.
Of course.
If they didn't ask, he wouldn't talk about it. Like it's really because they keep on asking, and he's a troll.
I mean, one thing, he knows how to work the media for sure, and
Oh, yeah.
they, you know, what I mean, that's probably his number one superpower. And the media doesn't seem to actually have caught on, or they do, but they don't care because it sells, it sells papers and
Obviously.
it's funny. Like MSNBC and CNN had their golden years, from 2016 to 2020. It's good. Actually, it's actually good for liberal media when Donald Trump's around. They actually love it, even if they don't admit it.
Couldn't agree with you more, man. Let me that's just the first part of the video. I don't know if we have questions, if we had comments about it.
Yeah.
But that's funny though. Jason said this earlier. Good looking
Oh,
women.
You got it.
It's not Fox News. Wow. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Very
Good looking,
strange, huh? Like that
Yeah,
that one, that Spanish one wasn't a bad looking girl, but you'll see what I mean. Like the girl that explains at the end, who Marianne Le Pen, what's happening to her.
Yeah.
As I'm watching her, I'm like, yeah, I think I understand why you have 1 million followers. I'm not saying that that's the only reason, because she's well spoken, but I'm
it
like,
doesn't hurt, right?
definitely help. Oh no,
No.
no.
You got to understand, like, if you understand how media works, of course, people like attractive people, and especially attractive women. And I mean, that's just, we can pretend like that's not the case, but it just is.
This weekend we went to eat at this burger joint, incredible burger in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
And we're sitting at the bar because it's packed. We decided to show up there at like 8:30, no reservations. Of course, on a Saturday night, it's packed, and it's a younger place, right? So we're sitting at the bar. I'm the fourth one. My buddy's sitting next to me. His wife is to his left, and my wife is on the complete opposite. There's a bartender. She is wearing, bro, like a tank top, like a blank tank top, no bra. And she's literally like, I'm holding my burger like this. Let's say that's my microphone, right? As I'm eating, she's just shorter than I am. I'm sitting taller. She's literally there. And all she does, I don't know what the fuck she's doing behind the counter. It's like she's breaking ice or something. What does it look like? And she's just, and my buddy and I,
burger, man. I just want to eat my burger.
My buddy and I are just sitting there. We're like,
where do we
it's
look?
impossible for us not to look, to a point where the day after, my wife mentioned it. She's like, "You guys noticed that girl?" We're like, "Fuck, how couldn't we?" But
no, that's a trap, man. That's a trap. It's maybe no, of course not.
Bro, no. We discussed those things, man. No. Listen, we're men. We're straight men. If there is a pair of boobs that's being, hey, don't fucking blame me.
No.
If women that walk around when it's cold with no bra and I happen to notice.
Well, I mean, it's hardwired into our brains, right? Like, you're gonna, if nothing else, you're gonna at least catch a glance and then force yourself to look away or whatnot. But to act like you're not gonna notice it, of course you are.
It's the same thing for guys. I don't walk around without a shirt on because I don't like that type of attention. I don't want people to look at me like that. So I'm always covered. Even in the South, I'm covered. Like, even when we go to somewhere that's super warm, I normally cover myself. So it's a choice. Don't blame me. Just
That's really funny. Was it one of those, like, it wasn't a Hooters or anything, but like, was it one of those places where the staff are kind of intentionally dressing
all women in good shape in their 20s?
Yeah, okay.
It's not a Hooters.
But it's
it's like but it's like you go to a bar. Like, imagine it's a burger joint, but it probably runs until 12 or 1 in the morning. People go there to drink too. Yep. So they make burgers and shakes and alcohol. That's what they do.
Yeah. No, it sounds good. That's funny though. It's funny that your wife was like, so did you guys notice her? Yes. Yes, we did.
They noticed her. So of course we did.
Girls are going to notice too, of course.
Yeah.
Jason says Bloomberg passed legislation to allow himself to become a mayor for a third term. And you know what NYC did to rebel against him? They voted him in. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as it's like democratically, like, if they vote for him in, they clearly support that he did it. This idea that just because it was a law means that you can't ever change it is ridiculous, because once you change a law, it's not a law anymore. But yeah, like, clearly they didn't care. And that almost, retroactively shows that they obviously support this move.
Let's go. So what? Hold on. You have another one
Jason.
here.
Yeah, so Jason says, so what Trump is saying is that Obama can run for a third term and give this guy the ass kicking he sorely deserves. That would be an interesting battle, I think. Trump versus Obama, 2028.
I think Mike would have more chances to win.
Mike
Obama. I think Mike Obama would have better chances of winning.
I actually think she would.
Yeah, but she said she wouldn't. I was just listening
Yeah.
to her. Oh man, she is brutal to listen to. She is not a great orator. But I
Nope.
was listening to her. Oh no, she uses the word like every sentence. It's just it's so annoying. But yeah, she was saying that she wouldn't. She was not interested. It's too hard on their children.
Huh.
I actually can respect that.
Hmm.
Because obviously you're putting your whole family in the limelight, so that can't be
sure.
easy on. Yeah, I can respect that.
Yep. But
Ready to finish the video?
Yeah, let's
The
do this.
president also threatening.
Sorry, man, I did not mean to cut you off. As soon as I put it back on the stage, it just starts. So that's the first part.
All right.
We're just talking about the clickbait. You know what? Hold on. Before we do this, I found something from one of your most favorite, because after I heard Trump say that he would run for a third time, whatever it's a joke or not, it made me think, is he really, do people actually like him right now? Like, because you need to be liked. Like you need to have high approval ratings if you want to do that, as we're talking about. So it made me think, I'm like, what's his approval rating right now? So as I put Trump approval rating, this is the first video that comes up, and I know you love that woman, so I actually had
Which one?
to get it. No, listen to this.
How does the American population?
Oh, Maida. Yes.
You don't even need to see it to know.
This banshee.
So as soon as I typed in, this is the first video that came up when I just typed in Trump approval rating. Listen to this.
Underwater on everything.
Feel about how things are turning out with Donald Trump being back in the White House, given that this is sort of the daily news now. New polling from Gallup just out today shows that there is no issue on which the American people like what Trump is doing. His disapproval ratings are higher than his approval ratings on everything. He is 18 points underwater on his handling of the economy. He is.
And just point out, like, you're looking, the splits are almost equal, right? You're talking 44, 51. So they're not talking massive splits, right? But look the way she sells it, though.
19 points underwater on his relations with Russia. He's underwater on his handling of the federal budget, on energy policy, on foreign affairs, on the Ukraine war, on the environment, on even his relations with the dreaded news media. He is underwater on every single thing.
Here, so I only brought that up because she's the first one that showed up and she's always entertaining. But you know what I thought after I saw that? I'm like, oh, I wonder. And thank you, Jason, for mentioning the name of Obama, because he's the first person that I talked to. The left does like Obama. So I'm like, oh, I wonder, what was his approval rate like in the golden years of Obama? And you know what I found? They all pretty much look the same. So check. So I went to Gallup, the exact same company, obviously, that did. It would only be fair that I use the same.
Yep.
And here's what's funny. You look at his approval rating. At the highest, it was 69. Pretty much on average, you're talking around 48. And then his lowest was 38. So pretty much the same numbers that you're seeing right now with Trump. Like, it's all over the place. But you see, like, they vary, right? They vary all over. Like, they will always be varying. And of course, it wouldn't be enough if I just did Obama. So I actually went to see Gallup once again. I went to see Sleepy Joe Biden. And funny enough, where's the number? Oh, they were showing it. But
40 see, ends up 40.
At the highest, 57 to 40. That was. Doesn't that sound exactly like Donald? Like, you look at the numbers.
Yeah.
It seems that every president out there will have people that disagree with them. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that people disagree with their president? How dare they?
Well, and it's the same trend no matter who it is, right? You get a big bump at first, and then
Yeah.
it slowly goes down, and that's just it. Stephen, oh God, lesbian jump scare Madoff. I just ate now. I'm nauseous. Yeah, she's just got that nails on a chalkboard way about her.
She's not a likable woman, but I just
No.
found that once again, the hypocritical left, and I'm not saying that Fox is any difference. Fox would say they're no better, right? But I just thought when I saw that video, I had no intentions to look for a video of her, but it's the first one that came up.
Yeah.
And I started looking at the numbers and I'm like, you guys are so full of shit. It's always the same thing. If you look at the trend, sometimes they go high, sometimes they go low, but the numbers that they were showing is pretty standard across the board, no matter who you look at. So,
yep, that's right. That's right. Like it's always going to be in that same range. We're such a polarized society that, like, there's going to be 40% of libs who like whatever the Democratic president's doing, 40% of Republicans who like whatever the Republican president's doing, and then it's the independents in the middle. I mean, and I also think you have to be aware that Donald Trump's numbers historically, for whatever reason, I've heard several theories, but he always, like, one thing that's fact is he does outperform his polls. I mean, that's been the case for both of these elections so far. So I think, you've got to add a few points to that, to whatever his number is at. And also I think the trend matters. I don't know if it's trending, but I believe it is trending up. Even if not sharply, it is slowly going up. And if you're a politician, if you're Trump, that's really all that you're looking for, because it means that you're winning more minds than you're losing.
I can tell you that from a guy that's been through, just over the past week, I've been through Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and all the way back up. And I spoke to people obviously in Alabama. I spoke to people in Georgia. We stayed there overnight. I spoke to people in North Carolina, South Carolina. And you know what I found? The people that voted for Trump are pretty happy about what he's doing.
Yeah.
So yes, they don't agree with some of the things they're doing, like the tariffs. I have not really found a lot of people in the US that are for the tariffs. Most of the people that just regular dudes, I'm not talking about politicians, I'm not talking about commentators, just regular people are just like, they don't understand that one either. They don't get it. I don't get it either.
It's not enough to make them feel like they don't they regret their vote or anything. Yeah, that's my
you'll never agree with somebody at 100%, right?
No, of course. That's my opinion too. My real situation is he's keeping the people who voted for him, and he's maybe slowly adding a few who maybe didn't, but are like, yeah, okay, I kind of like what he's doing. I just, his personality is such, I suspect at some point he'll start pissing people off. Like right now he's pissing the libs off, but he always pisses them off anyways. I don't really think he's pissing too many independents or moderates off. He certainly isn't pissing off his own, even like, they may say, yeah, I don't really get the tariffs, but that's not enough for them to say turn on him by any stretch. He's going to get a certain amount of leeway for those kind of things. And, he's got a ton of political capital built up. He's just, his base is going to give him a lot of leeway. There's obviously a point. There's no base that's infinitely loyal. I mean, maybe there's like a 10% in there that will never, ever, ever change their mind. But so far, I think most of people who voted for him like what he's doing.
This is what I'm getting, like, across the board. And I'm not, like I said, I get to speak to a lot of people, and because I was in the US for a while, that's what I'm seeing from talking to the people, not just what the news is telling me to believe, but what the people are saying. And they seem to be good with what he's doing. And, for the people out there, if you guys have voted for Trump, what do you guys think? You happy with him? Because that's a question we can ask you guys. What do you guys think? Are you good with what Trump is doing? Obviously, there's some stuff you're probably not going to agree with, obviously. But what do you think about Trump?
And even if you didn't, like, tell us who you voted for and what you think of Trump so far. Is it more or less what you expected? Pleasantly surprised, pleasantly unsurprised, or what have you?
Pleasantly unsurprised. I mean, I'm like,
I guess unpleasantly surprised is what
exactly. Unpleasantly unsurprised. I'm lukewarm right now.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
This is fine. Fucking fine.
Whatever. The second thing I wanted to talk about, and this is this to me was funny when I learned about it, especially what Trump posted, because I posted about the irony of this afterwards, and I think the liberals in Canada are going to go, they're probably going to start ripping their hair off. But Trump and Carney finally spoke. So after 2 weeks of Mark Carney being the Prime Minister of Canada, he finally talked to Trump. They finally had a conversation. I don't know if you saw the post that he made about it, but
Donald Trump, it looked pretty professional, actually. Like, sort of.
Yeah, he probably didn't write it. No, I'm just
yeah, I doubt it.
But he made a post about.
It didn't have a funny nickname for Carney, so he definitely didn't write it.
You noticed that, huh?
Yeah,
he actually.
I spoke to Globalist Carney the other day, or whatever he's gonna end up calling him.
But it's funny you say that, because I saw a video of him, like it was the tiniest of clips, which is why I'm not using it. But it was funny because that's exactly what I noticed too. I'm like, he used to call Trudeau governor.
Yeah, Governor
He
Trudeau.
referred to Mark Carney as Prime Minister.
Prime Minister Mark Carney.
So here's the post that he made on March 28th. So that was on Friday night. And I just finished speaking with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. See, there you go. He's saying it. Yep. It was an extremely productive call. We agree on many things, and we'll be meeting immediately after Canada's upcoming election to work on elements of politics, business, and other factors that will end up being great for both the United States of America and Canada. Thank you for your attention on this matter. What I found funny is I made a post, and this is the part I made a post about. We agree on many things. So does that mean that the Liberal Party are now MAGA, like the Liberal Party? Because in the left, we don't believe in two things being true at the same time, right? If I don't stand for the Ukraine, that means I stand for Russia, right? That's how the left is accusing me all the time.
That's left-wing thought process at work.
So for all the lefties out there, understand that your prime minister, the guy you want to vote for, agrees on many things with Trump. You are now MAGA. Just so you know, this is your own science. This is your own science.
Yeah. This is how it works.
But when I saw that, I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, how many leftists out there are just like, no, they agree.
They agree on Trump. Yeah. Although, you know what? I suspect the leftists, as leftists will do, tend to do sometimes, they'll probably cut some slack to their own guy. I'm gonna expand that. Honestly, that's not even just leftists. That's the bulk of everybody. There's probably 20% of people who are willing to really criticize their own side, right? And essentially, that we're trying to collect all those people with this podcast. That is essentially what we're trying to do. But for sure, like, most people are tribal politically, and that's just a human nature.
And I hope they continue to be, because it gives us content to speak about every day.
Yeah, that's right. It gives us a space. It carves out a space for us to say we're not that. You know what I mean? Oppose ourselves. That's not what we do.
But there's a part that I didn't like. I don't know if you noticed it. I'm going to put it again. He says, and we'll be meeting immediately after Canada's upcoming election to work on elements of politics, blah, blah, blah. Why are we waiting? Because we're talking another month. The tariffs were supposed to come on, like we'll see in the following section of this show. We're going to talk about the tariffs, but why are we waiting on April 28th or April 29th when the tariffs are supposed to come in place in 2 days, on Wednesday? That's why the question of today, is it really just a negotiation tactic? Because he said that in other interviews, he said the meeting went well, that he actually, and even there, it will end up being great for both the United States of America and Canada. He did not say the United States and its 51st state. Mm-hmm. He did not dig
none of that, eh? I don't know if there's, I suspect either he probably has this, like, I think he's shrewder than people think, right? He understands there's a time for real politics and a time to be an idiot, you know what I mean? A time to say for Trump Trudeau. I think he's essentially giving Carney a bit of rope, a bit of leeway, and it could also be Carney that said we're not going to talk until after the election. I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to see how Trump as this goes along. Is he going to stay out of it? Is he going to put his finger on the scale? and we'll you know, as you had mentioned earlier in the show, guys, what we're also going to incorporate is probably maybe not. I don't know if you're ready. We probably didn't do enough research for today, but maybe we'll start this
No,
tomorrow.
I did.
Okay,
No,
okay,
I did.
perfect.
Well, I found a very interesting post by Patrick Bet-David. So where he talks about Pierre Poilievre, the Patrick Bet-David is a smart guy. Obviously, love him or hate him, he is not an idiot. But I found a very interesting post that he made that is that the conservatives in Canada need to pay attention to, because it was actually pretty brilliant what he said.
Okay.
But no, it's just we want to incorporate more of the Canadian politics, obviously, because the election is going on right now, and
also
Jesus is going to be an interesting one.
And I think, like, obviously we'll have our own commentary to the things that we discuss, but like, I think we mostly want to just put it out there. Like, just, this is what Poilievre's saying. This is what Carney's saying. This is what Jagmeet's saying. Kind of like, we're going to try to take a more informational approach to that. And of course, we'll have our own opinions on what's said. But yeah, it's if you're a Canadian, like, I think what we'd like to do is if all you do is watch our show, you'll have a pretty good sense of where the race is and where everybody sits.
And that's the whole point. That was exactly my idea when I proposed that.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you read my mind.
Yeah, when you had mentioned that, that's why I thought we were going to go with that. And I think there's a lot of value in that. Again, obviously we're opinionated. That's what the show is. We're going to give our opinions, but we're also not really going to take sides. We're just going to inform you. And, you know, of course, Prairie, Maxime, of course, anyone who's doing anything. Obviously, you know, we have Maxime on the show, and so we're obviously.
He's actually mentioned in the post this morning. He's actually mentioned in the post that I'm going to share from Patrick Bet-David. It's a long one. It's like a few paragraphs long, but it was actually Maxime is in there. He kind of uses Maxime to call out Pierre Poilievre and the conservative, the Canadian conservatives.
Yeah, I honestly, one of the main stories that I'm going to be looking at for this election is actually Maxime Bernier. You know, as me and you have both, you know, I think we all agree that he's not going to win. That's not in the cards. But if he starts to get real support, I'm really interested to see if there's significant conservative or right wing bleed off from the Conservative Party over to Bernier. He's doing a pretty serious push in podcasts and media lately. So he seems to think that there's reason. He seems to think there's an opening there.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just going to be conservatives. I think that people from the Liberal Party, because look at you, for example.
Yeah.
You had the chance to speak to Maxime, ask him the questions you wanted to ask him.
I like what he had to say.
But that's my point. I did not. I don't see Pierre Poilievre doing the same thing. He's not doing what Maxime is doing right now.
No.
And even as a liberal, like, was speaking to you, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you're listening to him and you're like, damn, he actually makes sense. So even as a liberal, that's a political orphan that doesn't want to vote for Carney, that did not like Trudeau, that for some reason, if you're like me, Pierre Poilievre has always rubbed me the wrong way. I've never been a fan. There's something about him that I don't like. He's like arrogant to me. I listen to him like he's very arrogant.
I know what you mean.
I don't like it.
I think a lot of people don't. Robotic almost just seems very. He's reading a script every single thing.
Right. But that's you said almost. You said almost. I heard robotic homo. Yeah.
Oh, I said almost robotic, but yeah, he's a robotic homo. We'll go with that. But what you said there is actually an interesting point, because at the end of the day, I mean, as we just talked about, lots of politics are tribal, and if you have in your mind that I'm a conservative, there might be a space for like a left winger like me might be more likely to go for Bernier, because we're already voting for someone that we're not particularly used to, whether it's Poilievre or Bernier. So one right winger's just the same as the next, whereas the conservative guy who's already voted for his whole life, he might feel stuck in that party, whereas someone from the left who's just like, I don't really care. Like, from my perspective, Poilievre's the same as Bernier. I don't know, it's one or the other. I'm just going to go with who I like. So yeah, that's a good point.
And this is when he was explaining that there's not going to be the vote bleed or the vote splitting.
Yeah.
So, because to me, he's not going to win. I don't think he's going to win conservative people per se, because they're so obsessed by the liberals that they're going to vote for the conservative to make sure that they win. no, there's nothing you can say to a conservative in Canada right now to say that Pierre Poilievre's not a real conservative. They will always defend him the same way as the MAGA in the US will defend Trump no matter what. There's nothing you can tell those guys that they will think less of Trump. Oh, he's just a human being. That's okay. We all make mistakes. Cool. But Pierre Poilievre, I'm a conservative, not the party, but as my way of thinking.
Small c.
He just just rubs me the wrong way. And just like Memorino is saying right now, I don't like Pierre's voice. And you know what? No, but you know that's annoying. If you don't like somebody's voice, bro.
And we've talked about this. So much of politics is just, if you'd like to have a beer with this guy, you know what I mean? Like that it seems shallow and it seems superficial, but a lot of politics is a gut visceral level. It's
100%.
I can't explain it. I just don't like the guy. You know what I mean? Or I can't explain it. I just like him. Just something about him. And that's a valid, I think people get stuck. Well, tell me why. Tell me why you don't like him. Tell me why. I don't know. I get a good feeling or I get a bad feeling. And it's kind of like, we've all dated someone, or how you date someone, and sometimes like it's something stupid, the way they laugh or the way they eat. And you're like, I can't be with this person. I have to break up with them. And the fact of the matter is, it isn't really about how they eat or how they laugh. If you actually liked them, you wouldn't care. It's just, that's just a sign.
Very good excuse.
Yeah, that's a sign that there's something deeper going on. And I think it's the same thing. Like Memorino, it probably isn't that you actually dislike his voice, although I'm sure you do. But if you really like the guy and his politics and he rubbed you the right way in other ways, you probably just wouldn't think about it. I think politics, all politics is local, all politics are personal. And I think that is, that's people lose sight of that. And so I think when someone might see this and be like, well, you don't like his voice, that's stupid. But that's, that's how politics
is.
Works.
Is it?
I don't think
I'm gonna have to listen to this guy talk for the next 4 fucking years.
His
voice, that means you know what's interesting? It's funny he's talking about his man, Memorino. Just show what he just posted. And
he's a weasel and he's shady. And that's probably the crux of it, right?
This is what bothers me. Just for a little experiment.
It's a no.
When you like or dislike someone, listen to watch a video of them without the sound on. Mute them and just look at the mannerisms. And this is what bothers me about Pierre Poilievre, is his mannerism. Like, you can turn off, so it's not his voice, it's not what he says, is the way that he moves. There's something off about the way that he is, that I'm like, I cannot trust the guy. I don't trust him. I just don't. There's nothing, again, it sucks. There's nothing that guy can say that will make me trust him at 100%. I will always have a doubt. Always. There's a way that he moves. It's not calculated. He probably doesn't realize that he does it, but his mannerisms bother me for some reason.
But and that's just how the human brain works, right? Like when we take a reading of someone, we take someone's measure. You know how some people are good at reading people and some are not. Our brains are like supercomputers. They're taking in every single bit of data, the way they speak, the way they move. You don't even know what's going on. It just computes it. And it just gives you a feeling. I like this guy or something. And all the experts on personal safety and whatnot, especially when they're talking to women, they will say, trust your gut on these things. If something feels off, trust it. And it's the same thing. Men have those instincts too, right? If something doesn't feel right, then go with that gut. And it might sound stupid to choose the person you would vote for by that, but it isn't stupid. That's just how the human mind works. And that is human nature at its finest. And there's a reason why we feel those ways about some people. Usually, if you're pretty intuitive, you're actually usually end up being proven correct with a lot of those gut feels.
And again, I've mentioned this on the show before, but I've done a lot of research and certifications on NLP, on how to read people. And there's things that he does that bothers me. And, I got a video. The next video I wanted to show is Mark Carney's response to the conversation that he had with Trump. And I invite you guys out there to do exactly what I just said. Again, that was not my intent with this video. I didn't think about this earlier, but Just look at his mannerism. There's another thing. Mark Carney is evil. Look at him. He is just no, but look at his eyes. Look at the way that he moves. He has not only does he look like a narcissist, but the way that he moves, he does not care about people. Just look at the way, just don't even forget what he's saying. Just look at the way that he is. He just looks bad. He just looks like he does not give a fuck, but he's saying what he has to say because obviously he wants to be prime minister, so he's going to say it. Yeah, you know what? Memorino is exactly. Carney looks like a demon. To me, he looks evil. I look at that guy, I'm like, I see evil when I look at this guy. There's something really wrong with this guy.
Prairie says, me neither. I don't trust him one bit. I believe we're talking about Polyev at that point.
Yeah, Polyev, yeah.
But I suspect she'd probably say something similar about Carney.
But look at this. Like I'll play the video with Mark Carney. He's just responding to Trump, to the actual. I just want to make sure this is the right one. I have so many of them. Yeah, right here. So let me play this and just look at the way that he is on stage and tell me that there's not something off there.
Today, President Trump and I spoke on the phone. We had a very constructive discussion, and we agreed to begin comprehensive negotiations about a new economic and security relationship between our two sovereign countries immediately following the federal election. I made it clear that I will be working very hard with my colleagues behind me. I will be working very hard over the next month to earn the right to represent Canada in those discussions. We've made progress. It's the beginning of negotiations. We will have comprehensive discussions on the broader economic partnership after the federal election. But this is the start of negotiations. We will see what the United States does on the 2nd of April. It is still the case, of course, that there are tariffs on a number of other Canadian goods. That was a very cordial, substantive call.
Do you see how there's zero enthusiasm when this is the number one problem that every single Canadian think about is the tariffs and our relationship with the US? No matter which side of the fence you sit on, it doesn't matter that you're like Carney, you like Pierre Polyev, or you think there should be tariffs or not. Every single Canadian has an opinion about this. Did you see one emotion up to now? Nothing.
No.
Nothing is just, blah, I'm going to work with my team. He comes back like there's no emotions. There's just something so robotic about the way that he presents himself. And and you remember the videos that we showed about him getting questioned by those two reporters, and he's like, oh, you should look within yourself. Like basically ask him a question is, how dare you asking Carney a question?
Over the course of the next couple of days, the liberal attack dogs went wild on those reporters. Wild. I couldn't believe it. Prairie says the arrogance of Carney is disgusting. I think that really nails it for me. I think it's just so arrogant. Now I don't, like, full disclosure, there's nothing that Carney could do to get me to vote for Liberals. It actually has nothing to do with if I would vote for Carney before I would vote for Trudeau. But I just have a feeling that you cannot reward the last 9 years of what the Liberals have done to our economy, regardless of what. Even if I thought Carney was the best thing since sliced bread, I don't. But even if I did, I would not vote for him, because I think you cannot reward that kind of incompetence. And that, because we showed a chart last week where it showed GDP growth. All through the 2000s, we were pretty much neck and neck with America. And then around 9 years ago, Canada just became a flat line while America kept going up. You cannot reward that kind of performance in a democracy. All you were doing is inviting more malfeasance, more incompetence, because it prevents them from normally a party gets their ass kicked, it forces them to look inside, right? What did we do wrong? What can we do better? If Carney wins, if the Liberals win, they will not do that, and they need to do that. And so, like I said, there's nothing Carney can do. It isn't even anything against Carney, although I really dislike what I perceive as his extreme arrogance. I don't like that. However, the Liberals cannot be rewarded for the last 9 years. That's my take on this.
And I agree with you 1,000%. And I left the video play in the back end with no sound just to show people. Does that look like one of the most important phone calls that every single Canadian has been waiting for 2 months now? Or he just looks like he's talking about, he's telling us how the GDP will be better or whatever the fuck he's talking about.
Well,
but this is supposed to be a very good conversation. This is something that should be celebrated. Nobody, not just even him, but even the people in the background, they're like, we don't really care. Like,
no,
this is something that every single Canadian out there is worried about. Every single Canadian, to one extent to another, thinks about this every day because this will impact our life directly. This is no hiding that this is problematic for us. No matter what you think about the tariffs, it's a problem right now. Yet, look at him, like nothing. No emotion the whole way through. Like, just look at this guy talk. The people in the background couldn't give two shits. This is supposed to be good. He actually got in the conversation with Trump, and Trump didn't call him names. Trump said that actually they agreed on a bunch of stuff, and he's looking forward to dealing with him if he becomes the prime minister after the election. Yet he's just
I'm all for I'm all for taking a hard line with Trump if that's what you want. But you have to take a line. You have to engage with the guy. You can't just. And I suspect this "let's not talk until after the election" probably came from Carney, because he's been making noise about this since he came in. Oh, we're not going to talk to them. We're not going to talk to them. Motherfucker, you got to talk to them. Like, if you want to talk to them with a hard line, okay, sure. I'm not sure I agree with that strategy, but fine. But do something. You can't just not sit there and not do anything, especially leading up to these tariffs, right? This should be a scramble. You should be calling this motherfucker every 2 hours if that's what it takes. And if at the end of it, you tried everything and they still go on, okay, whatever. You did something, but I don't like this.
But the fact that he has no emotion. Do you remember the video I showed you? I showed you guys last Thursday where he's called a pedophile by somebody on his. He actually laughed, smiled.
How many kids?
No, but did you see his face? He actually laughed, smiled, look in the back like for security. Now we're talking about the most important phone call that he had to make. No emotions, even though that it sounded like it was good. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Laughing it up with the pedophile accusations.
Yet, right there, it's like nothing, no emotions. It's like couldn't care less. So I don't know if he had great memories coming back to mind when he was laughing about the question last week. Like, I'm just gonna.
How many kids? It was a lot.
That's not what I'm saying.
Good times.
YouTube. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying at all. Go get your 8 booster.
We're joking. We're joking. Yeah, get your booster. Get them.
But do you see? I'm just thinking about this now. Like, no reaction there. But that question, that's as much reaction as I've seen. This is the happiest I've seen Mark Carney again. I'm just going to put it out there. Happiest.
I love this comment from Marino. If there really are lizard people, he's one for sure.
I couldn't agree with you more. Like, I agree with you.
Cheryl, she says, "Hi, Rob and Nico." Cheryl, good to see you again. I hope you had a great week.
What's going on?
I hope you got a great weekend. I'm just going to run back and take a comment from Jason.
Yeah, go for it.
For a while. He says, you guys, because we were talking about Patrick Bet-David a little while back. He says, you guys at PBD have a lot of similarities. Nico and Pat are the secretaries of making sense. Rob against the PBD co-host, not even a competition. Thank you for that, sir. You know, we love you here, Jason. Can't wait to have you again.
So basically, Rob's the retarded cousin.
Yeah, I'm I'm just the least retarded co-host. Yeah. Hey, man, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Yeah. That's me, brother. One-eyed man leading the blind.
I was thinking about this weekend. I think we should make T-shirts. I'm gonna make one that says "I'm the smartest retard." I'm number one.
Political Orphans, home of the smartest retards.
That's actually home of the smartest retards. That's good. That's not bad, man.
Jason, bam.
All we had to do for Jason to comment again is make fun of you.
And exactly.
Bang, Jason's back.
Yeah. Now he's in. He's like, okay, now Good.
Yeah, that's it.
Now
I
we're
can-
talking my language.
I can fondle with Nick's balls, with Nico's balls, and make fun of Rob.
Yeah, exactly. That's all he's on the show for. Is fondle you and make fun of me.
Yeah, no, but I agree, man. I like his hands. He has very, very tender and soft hands. I like
Yes. Cheryl, thanks guys for these conversations. I look forward to them. I always laugh and there's much need during these crazy times. Honestly, that's one of my favorite compliments we've had about this show ever. That's really all we're trying to do. Create a community where everyone's, we're all laughing together. We're all having a good time. We're talking about some serious stuff.
Sometimes crying.
Sometimes cry. Yeah, like little bitches.
Sometimes we cry.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. When we get talking about the heavy stuff. Have you
Masculinity
noticed it's all
and fatherhood? It's like
have you always noticed about fatherhood? Like my girlfriend saw, was like, man, I wonder if you guys have some issues. I'm like, oh
no,
fuck, maybe we do.
I was having a conversation with my buddy that's 70 years old, right? 69 is going to turn 70. But just to put it out there, he has a six-pack, works out 4 or 5 times a week. He looks like he's literally
an RFK old guy.
Yeah. But he looks like he's in his mid-50s, extremely successful guy. And we were talking about fatherhood, since I'm going to be a father soon, a couple of months now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, we're just sitting at the restaurant eating burgers, looking at bouncy titties. And we were talking about masculinity and fatherhood, and I got emotional. Like we're just talking, I got super watery. I'm looking forward to it, man. This I didn't have the father I feel I deserved, so I'm going to be everything that kid needs to be. I will do anything I have to in order to be present, just to be present.
We obviously have never met, but we've spent a lot of time together over the last couple months. We've done a lot of shows together, and I've no doubt that you'll be a great dad. Just you can tell by the way someone talks if they understand the responsibilities of the role, and I agree with you. It does make you choked up because it's just it just feels like it's something that's missing a lot in the discourse in society today. Men get there are some people for sure that are not doing it, but no doubt men really are not doing well right now. Men are getting shit on left and right. Masculinity as a whole is under attack, and I'm starting to see it slightly change. I'm starting to see, especially there are women that are making posts praising the men in their lives and saying lifting up men and fathers, and it's nice to see that. But there's a lot of work to go.
What the fuck's an anchor baby?
Oh,
what the fuck? What the fuck is an anchor baby?
If you had your baby in the United States, that's an anchor baby is when you go to America to have your baby.
Yeah.
No, Joe, he actually, I don't know if you were watching last week and everything was all fucked up because Nico's getting kicked out of McDonald's and doing the stuff on the road. He was on his way back to Canada, so he's there. He's in Montreal now.
But it's funny, Joe, because we technically our son was conceived in the U.S.
Yeah.
Oh, when we got married, we left, and then boom, she pregnant. So the kid was conceived in. So he's half American. He's half American.
Nice. When's the due date, anyways? I feel like you'll be in the ER doing the show.
Mid-July.
Yeah. Okay, so we got some time.
We're hopeful. My buddy's so he's due like the 15th. But we're starting to wish for the 12th of July because my buddy's birthday is the 12th of July. That would be so cool. If my son was born the same day as my mentor,
is he going to be
fucking
the godfather to the...
I don't know, man. I don't know what we're doing. I would love to have him as a godfather. I'm just wondering and hey, Warren, if you listen to this, with all due respect, you're fucking old, bro. But no, I'm always fucking with him. The way I am here, I'm like this in real life. This is I'm worse in real life. I tend to try to control myself more on camera, but is he too old to be a godfather?
I feel like it's more of an honorific these days. I don't know
because they're gonna be able to share diapers and shit like that. It's kind of fucked up, right? They're gonna be able to.
In the past, I believe it was an official thing where if you died, they got they took care of the kid. But now it's probably going to go to the closest relative or family member.
But if you see it as a point of honor, he's the only guy I could see that. Yes,
I believe the way that the role has evolved is mostly an honorific at this point.
Yeah, but he would be the guy like that. That's who I would.
But it's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's
definitely
cool.
be him.
I don't know the guy, but I'm sure he would be honored.
He's a great dude, man.
Cheryl, you guys are awesome. You're real. You laugh at yourselves a lot. Talk about issues.
It's not that hard to laugh at me, bro.
Yeah, we give ourselves a lot of material.
Yup.
The interaction you guys promote make people think. Again, Cheryl, we could not. I love both of those comments you made today. Thank you so much for that, and thank you guys, everybody, for watching. You know, we keep pumping you guys up, but you know that isn't just, we're not just fondling your balls. We really do appreciate, like, this show would not be anything without you guys. You know, we've only been doing a couple months. It really feels like we're on an upward trajectory, and 100% of that, well, we might have something to do with it, but the vast majority of it is directly related to you guys. Yeah,
Somewhat.
Prairie. Nico's gonna be a fantastic father. Yeah, I agree. Aww.
Honorary grandpa. Thanks,
Honorary
Prairie, by the way.
grandpa.
But that one made me laugh.
Yeah.
You want to be his grandfather because he doesn't have grandkids yet. Like his son, he had his kids pretty late, like pretty much similar to my age.
Oh, so
And his kids don't have kids, so he's not a grandfather yet. So actually,
Man.
Prairie, you're kind of, god damn, she's shooting from midcourt and just swooshing that shit. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Just
good
nailing
job,
it.
Prairie. Yeah, good job, Prairie.
It's actually an interesting point. You know, obviously, it's no secret that the birth rate is collapsing, and it seems like everybody these days has their own opinion on why. I think it's probably something that there's several components, and we could talk about that later on. But I think what will be interesting is 20, 30 years from now, I think a lot of the people who are, you know, maybe don't see a point or a reason for kids in their old age are going to really, really regret it. Because I don't know, man, I feel like grandkids are like the point of being old. You know, I see
I hope you're right.
Yeah, like my parents, when you know, I've got a son and my brother has a son and daughter, so they've got a couple more come in, so there's gonna be a ton of grandkids, and that's like the highlight of their lives at this point. You know, they'll say again they could not imagine life without it. And I think you know, I think in some ways we've become a selfless society, and we see only the here and now. Oh, it's going to be expensive. Think of how, you know, but we never think about what we're getting in return. And I think, yeah, I think that's something that society's going to have to reckon with.
We were in Jacksonville, North Carolina on when was it? Friday.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was just about to go record the podcast with Nico Malatzos. And I was sitting outside working on my laptop like I do every day, and I have my cigar. I smoke out like I'm smoking. I'm just by myself outside next to the hotel. This probably mid-60s guy shows up, starts sitting, super nice guy. We start talking, and it turns out that he was around there because his daughter was getting induced that day. So I'm like, oh man, that must be cool. Is it your first one? He's like, yeah, no, I have 14 grandchildren. So
Wow.
I'm like,
Wow.
me being me, I looked at him. I'm like, you guys really don't believe in condoms, do you? I started laughing and he left.
Or pulling out or anything like that. Just nothing.
No,
I don't know, man.
Grandkids, bro.
That's rich, man. That's a wealthy man.
All I could think of is the family gatherings. How cool that must be when they all come together, you know, like 25 degrees outside, summer day, barbecues going, people are having drinks, kids are playing all over like this to me is going to make me cry. I'm going to start crying like a little bit.
I was just thinking
I did not have that growing up, and I'm looking forward to giving that to my son. This is one of the things I did not have. Man, I cannot wait to my wife's Italian family is just fucking crazy. They love gathering. They're loud. They cook a lot of food.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to giving that to my son. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly like that's a gift you give to your kids, right? And I just imagine how nice that would feel to be the old guy. You know, maybe you're at the grill, maybe you're having a beer, but you look out, right, and you survey everything, and you see all these generations, and you're like, I did that, and that would be I mean, compared to what, you know, what you give up to have kids, and you know, in your younger years, it's not even comparable. I think there's going to be a lot of lonely old people 20, 30 years from now because of decisions that have been made over the last couple of years, last 20 years. And There's lots of reasons why people have made those decisions. Economy certainly is in there. There's certainly some ideologies that have been pushed that devalue the family unit and the nuclear family, and that's part of the conversation too. But whatever the reason, I think it's going to cause a lot of heartache in the future for a lot of people.
I agree, man.
Joe Stradamus, I came because I also felt orphaned by my party. I stayed because we can be 180 degrees apart, and you never make anyone feel less for holding their own positions. Again,
on the contrary, man, I will always, Joe, I remember, man, when the first
that
time
very first one,
I kind of ripped into you, and I wasn't worried to rip into you, but you came back. So even
Joe's
when
made some
you're
great points, even ones I don't agree with.
All I'm gonna say, Joe, even when you're wrong, I will respect you.
Yep. And
even if you're wrong, it's okay. It's okay if you're wrong, Joe.
Yeah,
but he's right though. But thank you for saying this, because at the end of the day, that's all. At least I can only speak for myself, but that's all I'm trying to do is to be able to have those hard conversations with people that don't agree with me. And you know what? Maybe one day you'll say something I never considered, and you'll have me do research, and I'll be the first one to admit to you. Like, I have no shame in saying, you know what? I don't know. I'll go check it out. Or you're making a good point. I have to research this because I don't know.
Yeah,
you might have a point. I love it.
It's exactly what we're trying to create here, and posters like Joe and Cheryl and Prairie and Jason and Steven.
Not Jason, but everybody else.
Yeah, everyone but Jason. I feel like maybe we must be doing something right, because we've attracted a really high quality caliber of audience members. So again, guys, we thank you for that. Cheryl says, I have a 34-year-old daughter who friends tell me they are not having kids because they can't afford to have them. No doubt that is a thing that's out there. And I feel, and I can't blame anyone for that decision. I don't think that's necessarily selfish at all. But I think what people who think that way might not be thinking about is what they're giving up. What they're giving up by not having kids. And it might not, it's like an investment, it might not be a payoff right away. I'm sure when you're doing those diapers at 4 a.m., it doesn't feel that way. But the investment, you make your investment now, and it pays dividends later down the road. And I think society's become really short-term thinking, and we don't think about that always.
We were having that exact conversation with my buddy this weekend, and full disclosure, he's a trailer trash white immigrant. Like, his parents were immigrants from Europe, white trash, grew up in a fucking trailer park, very fucking poor. Bro, he's wealthy now. He's not rich, he's wealthy. Like, he's a very, very smart guy. And we were having that conversation. It was my wife, myself, and him. We were talking about exactly what we're talking about right now. And my wife and I would rather have one car, have a smaller house, even if it's an apartment, just so that we can have more kids. Just so I will work my ass off like the way I do. I'll work that 70, 80 hours a week just so that she can stay home with the kids. Yep. But we will downgrade our lifestyle in order for her to spend more time with them, in order for me to be able to work from home, in order for us to be able to keep them out of the education system, pay for tutors if we have to. But this is a choice. Like, we live such a glamorous lifestyle nowadays. We want everything, yet we don't understand. You know what? Live with your fucking parents. We're talking about this just before we jumped on the phone, just before we started recording.
That's what we used to do.
It's only been 100, 200 years since we've been that really Western,
and only in the West
mindset.
In the rest of the world, they still do that.
Bro, when I was in Toronto, how many Indian families, they come from India right here. They buy triplex, and they all live together. Like, somebody lives at the top, somebody lives in the middle, somebody lives at the bottom, but they pay for the building together. So they have one house, they all live together, they always eat together, they always meet somewhere, they live together. And at the same time, they have their own private space within the same building, the same house, if you will.
Yeah.
But who better to help me raise my son than the grandparents that fucking love them?
Yeah,
like, who better?
Yeah.
Like, who better? So this is the thing. As much as I agree that kids are expensive, But if when I quit my job as an engineer to become a content creator, I make a fraction of what I used to make, a fraction of it. But you know what? You could offer me my salary back. I'd never take it for the freedom that I have today. Like, I wouldn't have been able to travel the way I've traveled, but that's because I live extremely modestly. It's not because I'm flashing money. I'm not a flashy guy. I don't care about things. I care about experiences. That's what I really want.
Yep.
So there's ways to have children. There's ways to live a life that is very different from other people without being stuck in that 9 to 5, because you just downgrade your
Yeah.
compared, because our wants and our needs are so fucking different. So different. So
Yeah,
different.
that's right. I do think we kind of want it all, and at some point it is kind of about choices. Like Cheryl's saying here, most can't even afford their own place. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand the struggle, but I mean, you think about like not that long ago, like Irish immigrants in New York in the 1900s, right? They're having 15 kids, and they have not a penny to their name, right? I'm not saying I don't think that we should go that route either, but like I do believe that like you can make it work if you make different choices. Now, everyone, I'm not like I said, I would never judge anyone for that choice, and having kids is always a personal decision. I would never judge anyone for any reason for not having kids. I just mean it. I just think a lot of these people are going to really regret that decision in their later years, because all the things that you want now, that's not going to keep you warm when you're happy when you're 60 and 7 years old, the way that your grandkid laughter down the hall will. And again, I understand all the struggles, all the pressure, and it is not an easy decision. I just think for these people's own interests, I think a lot of them will regret it. And like you said, Nico, like I think one of the main problems with Western societies today is this: we're in a crisis of a lack of meaning and purpose. And one of the main drivers of that is just this loosening of community bonds, of family bonds. And you don't see a lot of these extreme rates of depression and anxiety in almost any other societies or cultures in the world, even though many of them are much poorer. Many of them don't have 2 pennies to rub together, but they have family, they have a community, and that makes all the difference. I used to date not long ago during COVID a Muslim girl. She grew up in Dubai. She came here to go to university, but when she's done, she's done now, but she'll go back and live with her family until she's married. And when she's married, they will her husband will probably live in the family home. And I remember when she first told me about that, I was like, wow, that's crazy. And it's just, from what I'm used to as a Westerner, it sounded crazy. But the more I sort of think about these things, I wonder if maybe they're not onto something.
Man, it's my wife never lived alone. We met later on in life. We got married last year, and you know what? Until we started dating, until we dated for a while, and she moved with me, she had never left her home. She was still living in the same house that she was born in, same house. And I was the first guy she lived with. And that's just the way they do things. Her father's an Italian immigrant. That's the way they do things. And you know what? Now I am, it's hard in Canada for all the people that are in Canada. They know everything's expensive. Inflation's through the roof. And this is what I'm working for. I want to work this hard to be able to not only provide for my wife and my kids, but I want to be able to have a house where we can all live together. This is my goal now. This is what I'm working on. I want to try that generational, all those generations living together. I want to be able to have those massive, every day you sit down for a meal with your family.
Yeah.
Like, just, I didn't have that growing up. I did not have that growing up, and
I never saw the value of it. But now, man, you just recognize it so much. Jason here says Nico would be a fantastic dad. He says
I'll try hard. That's for sure. I'll be there.
You having a kid is the best thing that happened to me. That did not happen to me. I mean, I think that's the general consensus here. Is everyone knows that you'll be a great dad. Of course, it's trouble. Of course, it's tricky and it's hard times. But you've got you understand what's important, and that's really the most important thing. Prairie gives some advice. Nico, you should write down how you're feeling now while you're waiting. It will be great for you to read every so often, or maybe the day he gets married or when he has his first. It's a treasure. Yeah, that stuff is pretty cool. Like those kind of heirlooms to be able to pass down.
You know, Prairie, I don't even need to write it down. I record so much content.
Yeah, that's true. It's
Not all the time.
It's a different time.
They get to see it live. They get to see how emotional it's making me. Just talking about it, I'm gonna fucking start crying again.
They're like, oh, look, my dad was a little bitch.
Exactly. My dad is a big guy that looks tough, but he's a bitch.
But no, that is pretty cool, actually. Like he'll be able to go back and watch some of these and say that is neat. Cheryl says, agreed. We need to get back to the generations living together. My daughter still lives with me. Thank goodness. When the mandate came in, I chose to quit my job. Or at least we need to get back to where it's not a taboo. Because right now, if you're 20, 21, you live with your parents, right? They'll call you. If you're a guy, they'll call you an incel. Or you live in mom's basement. If you're a girl, they'll call you a spinster. And I think that's just wrong. It's not about not being able to make it out there. It's about valuing the family unit, and that's community is first and foremost just a collection of family units. And I think we really need to get back to valuing that.
You know, my biggest dream, bro, 50-acre lot, buying a 50 to 100-acre lot, building a couple of houses for family members. Just, we all live together.
You got your own space, but everyone's nearby.
Grow most of our food, hunt most of our meat. And
that's heaven.
That is my dream. That I've been working on this for like 10 years. I know exactly how it needs to get done. I just need to put the funds together. That's what we're doing every day. But this is my biggest dreams, to be able to do that.
That would be a hell of a I like that. I like that a lot. Grow your own food.
Yep.
Keep bees so you can make your own honey. I don't know. I've always
that
bees.
My wife's grandmother used to can everything. She still has a garden. She's in her 90s. She still has a garden that she takes care of every year. They used to can everything. They used to do all their curing of meat. Like, they're Italian, right? They grew up. They come from Italy. They weren't born here. Yeah. So their mindset is completely different. But I definitely want to go back to that.
Well, and if it isn't you guys, if it isn't your generation and our generation, those skills will be lost, right?
Yep.
Like they'll just end. And what a shame that would be. Like what a loss that would be for all of us. I really think over the next 20, 30 years, there's going to be a strong push back. It's going to become a subculture.
You have to.
A lot of people are, and you're already starting to see it where, you see like subculture like trad wives and stuff like that. I think that the whole idea behind that is really going to pick up steam. Cheryl says, Nico, that's my dream too. Jason, busting your balls a bit. Remember, Nico, real manly men don't cry.
I'm French, bro. I'm not a real man.
Yeah, it's a perpetual.
I get a pass because I'm French.
Exactly. Prairie says, absolutely, yeah. Stop shaming people. Exactly right. We can't. It's just so much of like the messaging from modern society the last 30, 40 years seems to be one way or another trying to destroy the family unit. That's what we have to change. We have to get back to that. We have to get back to valuing that.
There was, funny enough, again, we're talking about this weekend with my buddy sitting on his terrace, and I remember do you know what the Whatever podcast is? You've seen that podcast, right?
Yep. Yeah.
It's kind of that guy that trolls young women from California. I don't understand why people watch this, but either way, there was a woman that showed up. She was older. She came from she was either Middle Eastern or from Eastern Europe, one of the two. But she starts talking as a mother. Like, she's older, she's probably mid-40s, and she starts talking to those young women, and they're like, she basically, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm like, in my country, when we leave the house, we represent our family. I represent my father. I don't disrespect my father. I will dress a certain way. I will behave a certain way because I'm a direct representation of my family. So I take this seriously. I'm a member of that family. I want people to respect us. I will respect myself in the way I treat others. And she just starts ripping into those girls with knowledge, just like, this is how we are being taught, is to respect your family. But how can you expect people to respect their family if they don't spend time together?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It all intertwines. As we're talking about this, I remember those conversations. I'm like, fuck. It is so true. It is so true that we're missing that component.
Yeah. And this is new. The way that we live now, that's the new thing. Pretty much, like you said,
For
maybe
thousands of years. For
Yeah.
thousands of years, it's been like that. But for the past couple hundred years, it's completely different, and we think we have it figured out.
We've got the right answer, and it's starting to look like we don't. You know,
Yep.
and you know, 20 years ago, if you had asked me how I felt about this, I probably would have taken the other side on a lot of these issues. But I see it now. I see the, you know, the
3 years
the
ago,
actual-
6 months ago, bro.
No. I mean, like 15, 20 years. Like, I mean, like I would have, maybe 10 years ago. But, you know, I never thought about these things. I would have thought like, oh yeah, the family unit, that's fine. It's, you know, I'd never thought of the value of that. But it's, you know, it's been a progression for me. But a lot of it is just, I see that the sort of destruction that a lot of these policies and these ideas are causing in society. It's impossible not to notice how much worse the West is doing than the rest of the world in so many of the areas that really matter. Like, yeah, we have more money, but the fact that we have more money and we're the most miserable is a sign that money's really not the important thing, right? If it was, we'd be the happiest people in the world, and we are not.
The study shows that if you make the average salary, like I think they were saying it's somewhere around 60 or 70 grand a year. If you for sake of argument, let's use 70 grand. If you're making at least 60 to 70 grand a year, more money than that's not going to make you happier. If you have enough money to purchase your
Pay your
necessities,
bills.
like have a roof, being able to heat it, make sure you have food, you have free time to interact with people around you. More money does not equal more happiness because your basic needs are met. That's very enlightening when you think about it. That's why freedom is so much more important to me than money.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I think a lot of people, you know, part of our culture is just this consumerist culture, right? We keep chasing this dream that if we just have more money, if we just have that job, if we have that nice car, if we have that girl, we'll be happy, and we're not. And I think we need to start to really start rethinking everything about what we think in the West life is even about.
How the hell did we even get down?
I don't even know. I have no idea.
We've been going at it for like 40 minutes. What the fuck? How the hell did we end up in this?
Cheryl says, Rob, the destruction of the family started with birth control in the 60s and divorce that started to become more common in the early 80s. Yeah, I think it's hard to argue with if you track the actual statistics and the attitudes that came out of that. And I mean, I don't think it necessarily is birth control itself that was a problem. It was the attitudes that came with birth control. It was the attitude that, you know, promiscuity is a great thing. There's no need to be stuck with one person. And not only that, but there's something wrong with you if you want to be stuck with one person. There's something wrong with you if you want this traditional way of life. And that went way, way, way too far. I don't have a specific problem with birth control. Although what's interesting is I'm just anecdotally, I see a lot of women who are really pushing back on it, who are refusing. Like my girlfriend and all of her friends will refuse. The doctors keep trying to push it on them because it's just what the doctors do, right? They know you just give young women birth control. And like when people are starting to realize how much this shit fucks with your body, your hormones, it's not nearly as benign as we were told. And there seems to be a movement to push back against that too. So,
man, there's a comment that comes to mind. I don't know if I should say it because that could be bad for people, but that's why I stick to anal. That's just a joke. It's just that's clearly
it's a joke if your wife's pregnant.
Really, but this is nature's
birth control.
Birth control. Yep, there you go. You have it. Sorry for the women out there. My bad. I had to say it.
Cheryl, I forgot the feminist movement as well. I believe that took off in the 70s. Well, I think that you can't even separate those things. I think birth control and the rise of the feminist movement were intricately intertwined. Jason agrees. Mo money, mo problems. I mean, there's a reason why that's a well-known phrase. Trust me, some of my friends need birth control. Not everyone is going to be a good dad like Nico. No, I mean, I have no problems with trying to not have kids. Like I think that's a great. I think kids, you know, every kid born, it would be ideal if they were wanted and well planned out and all of that stuff. I just mean like the actual physical ramifications of birth control pills on the female body does seem to be not quite nearly as harmless as they have been led us to believe, which if you've been paying attention over the last couple of years, you might not find that surprising that big pharma is telling us that something is safe when it is actually not.
Not only that, but if you know, one of the things that we don't often address is the fact that all those hormones that women are taking through those birth control pills, they pee them out. That ends up in the water supply that the filters that cities are not able to filter out, and we keep on drinking it. Like all the medication that we're dumping in the toilet, no matter if it's birth control or not, ends up in our drinking water. It's messed up when you start analyzing what's in there. Hey, bro, you're not just drinking water.
Have you ever seen the statistics for sperm rates in males? And like the sperm we produce is going down. There's a reason for that. Like that's a real measurable thing. And I don't even think we know exactly why, but that there sounds like a pretty good place to start. Prairie says they're saying you only need one pill, put it between your knees and keep it there. I assume just mean like keeping your legs closed. I mean, that's fail proof for sure. You can't I've heard a lot of stories of women who have been on birth control for like a long time. Like a lot of women these days are on birth control their whole, like once they as a teenager until they want to like start having kids. Sometimes they're married, they'll be on birth control for 10-15 years, marry the guy they love, want to have kids, so they go off birth control and they realize they're not attracted to him, they don't like him, like it completely changes how they feel about their husband. Imagine that. Now you're invested, now you're married, and you're like, oh my God, everything that I thought I would like about this person was actually just hormones telling me something. Now that's, it's not common, but it is not unheard of. It is a real thing.
Actually, I've heard about this. I've heard about this years ago. I can't remember who was saying this, but there was a guy out there was saying 1 year, take off medication. Like if your wife or your girlfriend, if your girlfriend's on birth control, make sure she's off for 1 year before you marry her. That was the recommendation. Like I've heard that years and years ago, because it does change the emotions of a woman. It plays with her hormones, and God knows that we are all controlled by our hormones, our emotions.
Well, absolutely. Well, if you understand how birth control works, it essentially tricks your body into thinking it's pregnant, and it's well documented and established that at different stages of a woman's cycle, and certainly when she's pregnant versus when she's not, what she finds attractive will be different. And she, like, imagine that being stuck through really no fault of your own or her own, just your wife is not attracted to you anymore. That's and you're already married, and man, wow, like I can't even imagine that. Cheryl says birth control affects hormones and can cause issues with fertility once you stop taking them. I myself had thyroid problems in my 20s and 30s as a result of taking birth control. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is just, it's not even about being anti-birth control. It's about these are not clearly as safe as they are told us to believe. And that's again, that's really I'm not anti-vax, but clearly the COVID vaccine is not nearly as safe as they let us believe.
YouTube.
We're getting it's very safe. But that is the problem that I have with it. Prairie says lots of women are using that 3-month injection now. I assume that's just another form of birth control, essentially fucking with your hormones. There's a reason why it's supposed to be shed out of your body every month too. I assume you're talking about the uterus lining. Like it's a process that's been built into human biology. It can't be a bad thing. It has to be a good thing. Stopping it has to be a bad thing on some level.
I agree completely. Man, we went down the road.
We really did go down some rabbit holes.
News. I do not know why we went down
well,
that rabbit hole,
I think we responded to the audience. I think everybody.
Oh yeah, of course. Obviously, it's the audience's it's the audience's fault.
Yeah. Yes.
No doubt about that.
We're gonna blame them.
There's no way it could ever be our fault.
No, we would never.
Us going down rabbit holes.
No.
what? It's 100% the
It's
audience's fault.
Always blaming the audience.
100%. We
Yeah.
always stick to the subject at hand.
Yeah,
Never go down
that's what we're
rabbit
known
holes.
for. That is what we're
Yep.
known for.
Let's finish on this. I had a couple of other things I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to show this. Let's finish with this since we're running out of time here. But
Okay.
I saw a post, and by the way, obviously I'm fucking kidding. I will take interacting with you guys over any piece of news out there. So
Yes.
hopefully we all know this is a joke, but it is your fault. Because if you weren't there, we wouldn't be doing it. So it's your fault.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I don't know if you guys remember this, but Maxime Bernier, the leader of the PPC, of the People's Party of Canada, was on Patrick Bet-David's podcast. I think it was last week. And this morning I'm just going through the news and stuff, and I see Patrick Bet-David. He wrote this yesterday, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So he basically said that Canadian conservatives, here's some unsolicited advice for you. Stop being so easy on your candidates, especially Pierre Poilievre. Stop assuming that they will automatically win. And he goes on to say, and as you can see, like it goes. But basically what he's saying, and I found that to be so fucking interesting to say, because I've said this myself, so I was happy that he mentioned something like that, but Trump moved the needle because he went on podcasts. He took all the chances possible, like any podcast that was offered to him, that had an important audience, especially men, he went on. Yet Pierre Poilievre's not doing that in the US. Like he's not doing that in Canada, sorry. Patrick Bet-David invited him on. He said he refused. He said no. Yet Maxime Bernier went. And I thought it was very interesting because where does he mention it? He compared, I thought that was cool. He compared Maxime Bernier. So I had Max on, but for whatever reason, Canada is treating him the way the US did RFK Jr. I respect the hell out of his willingness to talk. And we said the same thing about Maxime, right? When he came on, he was open to whatever. He answered the question we threw at him. No questions about it. Like he was not worried about our question whatsoever. But I found it interesting that he compared him to RFK Jr. as in Canadians, for some reason, the political parties don't want Max on stage. But the point is, it's true that if conservatives want to be honest about what's going on right now, don't assume that Pierre Poilievre is going to win the next election. He needs to work his ass off, just like Trump did, and appearing on podcasts. I was doing a research. I researched it this morning. They say in Canada, more than 12 million Canadians watch or listen to a podcast at least once a month.
Oh,
that's
36%
of Canadians above the 18 and over listen to at least one podcast a month. That means you're 1 out of 3 people you're trying to reach is watching or listeing a podcast. And
guys
it's even
like
more than that.
Because how many people vote? Like 55%, and I bet you most of those 36% are probably all in that voter panel, right?
But I will always give you the lowest number.
Yeah. Of course.
I like to play devil's advocate, but can you imagine 1 out of 3 Canadian that is able to vote watches at least one podcast a month, and Pierre Poilievre refuses to do them?
No, that's it. There's no excuse for it. This is the new media, right? Like people want to hear directly from people. They don't want it filtered through the media. They don't trust the media. They don't want either questions that are either softball prepackaged questions to help the candidate they want, or bad faith, dishonest questions designed to hurt the candidate that they don't like. So they're just bypassing them. So these candidates need to start coming on. That's what I predict you're going to see a lot of these outsiders start winning, because it's the outsiders who are the ones who are taking these risks and I consider Trump one of those. He's an outsider by any stretch of the imagination. They're the ones willing to take the risk to go on these shows. The establishment, the front runner candidates, they think they've got too much to lose by going on these shows. The fact of the matter is they have too much to lose by not going on these shows.
And you know what's interesting? I didn't read it on. He said, because he compared it to Trump, saying that's how Trump won. Trump is 78, yet he's been on more than 20 plus podcasts during his campaign, not including all his campaign stuff and his medium stops, right? Just he went out of his way, and I know that's because of his son Barron. He's been credited for this. Like Barron is like, father, you need to go to those podcasts. You need to speak to young men, especially men. And he went on to say that Trump did it at the age of 78. Pierre is 45 years old, campaigning like he's Biden.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
He's
been off the, he's been non-existent. Like I haven't even seen him. And when if he was still up in the polls, then sure. But like as he's been watching Carney come closer and closer, is there nothing going on in his team saying, okay, this is not working, we need to do something? And you don't see any of that.
It's, to me, I'm very biased. I think he played his role, and his role was to push Trudeau out. The plan was always to have Carney put in. This is my optic. This is, I'm going to die on that hill. This is the way I see it. What? Because you don't blow a 30-point lead by mistake. I don't believe in that at all. Because listen to the conservative people out there that love Pierre Poilievre. They're just like the MAGA for Trump. He can do no wrong. You do not blow a 30-point lead by accident. I don't believe it for one fucking second. Because he's doing, it seems like he's doing everything possible not to fucking win. Like, you see, like guys like me, for example, how many, even Patrick Bet-David in his post is saying that, hold on, let me frame. So he's saying Pierre is 45 years old, campaigning like Biden's age. He's a great speaker. He's talented, but then he comes across as hold on. Yeah. He's saying he's a great speaker. He's talented, but then he comes across as lazy, pompous, and entitled. This is exactly right there. This is exactly what I don't like about him. When I read this, I'm like, bro, there you go. That is exactly what I'm seeing, and that's exactly what other people are seeing. But can you imagine if he started doing those long form content, like podcasts, where people got to know him, like just like we did today? How many times would that happen? Does that happen on, let's say, a Joe Rogan podcast? You're there for 3 hours. It's gonna go down rabbit holes that you would have never imagined because you're having a conversation with someone. But how great would it be to put yourself out there? If it wasn't for this podcast, I wouldn't advertise that my wife is pregnant, that I'm looking forward to having kids. Oh, it has nothing to do with the podcast that we make. But it's just we go down those rabbit holes because we're too deuced
to see who you are, then to meet who you are, right?
But
and as you can see, our audience,
that's what the long form content, right? It happens automatically. As soon as you sit long enough, it's going to get personal at one point, even though that it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I think these long form interviews, that's the secret sauce. That's an authenticity filter, right? You can't bullshit in a 2-hour long form podcast. You just can't do it for that long. And that's why I think there's a lot of hunger. And we've talked about this all the time. There's a hunger for these authentic candidates. And in a way, that's the great filter between a truly authentic candidate. Because if you genuinely believe your message, and you know your shit, and you know you can defend your positions, you welcome a 2-hour podcast. You'll probably enjoy it. It'll be fun. And so the guys that go on that, and the women, they're the ones who are going to get that benefit of the doubt, that authenticity. Maybe I don't agree with everything he says, but I see who he is. I see he's a human being, and I like that guy. And I think that PBD, what he said there is just so bang on. You know, the landscape has changed. The political landscape has changed, and the winners of the next era, 5-10 years of politics, will be the ones who recognize that and work within it.
And if you're not able to do those long form content, you need to learn how. Like I was on Friday, I was on Nick Malazzo's podcast. If you guys don't know who he is, massive audience, like massive. He has more than 1 million followers throughout his platforms. And he normally and he has his own studio. He has this Jamie. That's cool. When you have a Jamie that you can just look, hey bro, can you look that up on your computer? And you walk in, he has the screen, all the cameras are set up, like you have screens showing all the cameras. His Jamie sitting in a corner doing research for him. He has his microphone where he can jump in. He normally records for an hour, give or take. And he has had some world-renowned people on his podcast. We went for 2.5 hours. We talked about masculinity. We talked about politics. He wanted to know how it is to be a Canadian traveling to the US, knowing you're going back to literally a communist country and considering the election. But the point I'm trying to make is that it was so personal. Like I've known, like we've met before, we've recorded content before. He's been on my show, but we were just two dudes that create content. They're capable of talking for hours at a time. We do it every day. We'll speak. Fuck, we've been at it for 2 hours and 10 minutes today, and we'll do it tomorrow, and then the day after, and the day after. But you know what I'm saying? This is a skill that if you're a politician trying to win an election you don't possess, you should get your fucking ass on it right now. You need to learn how to do this because people want to hear it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But imagine that we're capable of doing it from our fucking living room. We're able to do that. But a guy that wants to be the leader of the country is not capable of doing this. Like, are you fucking kidding me, bro? Like, really?
Yeah. And I mean, one of Poilievre's biggest albatrosses around his neck is that lack of inauthenticity, that feeling that he's smug, that he's lazy, that he's entitled. And I mean, that would take care of all of those things with just one go if he went on some of these podcasts and just sat down and got people to know who he is. But it seems like, you know, and especially when you decide not to do those things, you start to think, well, there's probably a reason he's not doing that. He probably is just an unlikable asshole, you know, and they probably know that. And that's why they're not sending him out there. Whether that's true or not, that's just the implication we're all going to assume.
That's why we all know that's why Kamala Harris did not do long-form content outside of one. She did one, and there was a
Call her daddy.
And there was a bunch of restrictions. It was not a free
even on that, which was going to be a friendly, super friendly one. They still 100%. Had a bunch of restrictions.
And if you look again, Patrick Bet-David's post was great. He's like, here's a list of people I would beg for your candidate to go on. Tucker Carlson, Lex Friedman, Sean Ryan, Pierce Brosnan, Cuomo, Devon, Full Send, Candace, Glenn Beck. Like he literally has 20 of them written. And you know how many of them he would probably go for? Every single one of them would probably take him because he's literally running to become the Prime Minister of Canada. I don't like Pierre Poilievre, and if he wanted to be on this podcast, I'd fucking take him today. No questions about it. No matter how I feel about him, I would love to have him on the show and talk to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So imagine how many podcasts out there that have massive platforms that would take him in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. But one thing I find interesting about the new media landscape with all the podcasts, whatnot, is it seems to have been globalized, or at least around the West. Like you have American podcasters who are actually interested in Canadian politicians. You know what I mean? Pierce Morgan is a Brit. He'd be interested in a Canadian politician, whereas before everyone's stuck in their lane. But you know, this is the new landscape. The times have changed, and like any revolution, the people who recognize it and position themselves to take advantage of it are the ones who are going to profit enormously.
And if you think that a Canadian's wasting his time to go on an American platform, you're full of shit, because most Canadians listen to American platforms.
Yeah,
because we don't have that many great platforms in Canada. We have them, obviously, but obviously.
Yep.
Right here.
Yeah,
right
obviously.
Here. Obviously. Some of them. But the point is that Canada, we're like the little brother of the US, and we watch their programming.
Yep, we do.
No questions about it.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, that's a great little rant. And you could tell by what he's not anti-Poilievre at all. It sounds like he's genuinely trying to help him. He gave him a blueprint. He literally said, "Here's the shows." He may as well have said, "I'll contact them for you if you'd like."
I'm pretty sure that you could contact him today. He could contact Patrick Bet-David. They probably figure it out this week. It'd be down there.
And that's what's so great about this medium or this platform or the whole podcast thing. You could have somebody, you could call him today. They could have him there by Wednesday. You know what I mean? If they really wanted to work hard at it, but like it can be done quick. You don't need to have these long lead times. There's really no excuse. The only excuse is you're just not willing to do it, and that itself is.
And why?
Yeah, why do you not? Why?
Why would you ever refuse Patrick Bet-David's podcast? Yeah. Why would you ever refuse?
He's going after you. It's not even like,
and he hasn't let go. He hasn't let go yet. He's still talking to you.
It's not even like, well, we tried to get on there, but he didn't want us. He's begging you to be on his show. All you have to do is say yes. He's going to be friendly. Clearly, he's a conservative. He's not going after to embarrass you. I'm sure it won't be a softball interview, but like. It's not a trap. It's not a trick. And it does make you wonder why, there's no other, there's no explanation that's satisfactory other than he's just not up to the task.
And look at this. Like I just Googled Patrick Bet David like following. You're looking 5.1 million followers on Instagram. On X, he probably has a couple millions too. Hold on. He has 1.3 million followers on X. His podcast has 2.5 million on YouTube, 1.4 on Facebook. His entertainment called Valuetainment has more than 7 million followers just on YouTube. So you're talking right there. You're about 12 million followers, and that doesn't have TikTok. That doesn't have the other platforms that are out there. So you're literally I said earlier, 12 million Canadians, which a third of the population above 18 years of age, watch podcasts. Right then and there, you just reached more people than the people that watch podcasts in Canada with one guy. And he's not Joe Rogan. Patrick Bet David is not fucking Joe Rogan.
No.
So can you imagine if he did go through that list, he could potentially reach 150 million people. Oh, imagine that 10 million of those people are Canadians. Imagine.
Cause just, and then even if just the U.S. media starts to pick him up, right? That's gonna spill over to Canada. Like there's no downside to it, no downside whatsoever. And
all the content in the world, you know that a company like Patrick Bet David are going to pull so many fucking reels from their podcast. They're going to post that to not only, you don't even need to watch the fucking episode. You can just wait for the reels. And they get millions and millions of views per reel. There's no downside. But again, I think it's like you said, there's something fishy with this.
Yeah.
I know why Carney's not doing it. I know that because he got challenged by 2 reporters, and right away you're like, "Oh, King Carney did not like that.
He did not.
He did not like to be challenged.
He doesn't like to be challenged."
But is that the same thing with Polyev? I think so. I think it would be bad. I just think he can't do it. I think it's probably similar to Kamala Harris, that it's gonna go bad. Like they're just like, no, we're not taking that chance.
Yeah. And I don't like it because, maybe if you were 20 points up in the polls, you could have that luxury, but you're not, right? You need to take the risk now. You are down big time and you have lost an enormous lead over the last couple months and you haven't done anything. You literally haven't done a thing to stop it. And Carney hasn't even really done anything either. He's just showed up and they're ready to crown him. And I can't imagine the sign of a weaker politician than what we see from Polyev right now. Just completely just feeble, limp, flaccid, whatever word you want to use, just not impotent, just not like he's getting sand kicked in his face and he's just sitting there and taking it. Thank you, sir. May I have another? And it's not a good look.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow. I just said I disliked the guy.
That was how you really feel. But
Jesus, Rob.
If I were conservatives, I'd be out there with pitchforks and torches. I'd be fuming right now.
Man, that is funny. Wow, Rob. God damn. God damn.
Quality. Yeah. God damn.
Let's take the comments and we'll call it a day, because
all right,
if they take time to write them, we will read them.
Yes, we will. Okay, so Memorino says they don't want to answer questions, and it's impossible to think it's anything other than that. I agree with you, Nico. Pierre's role was to position Carney to win. We shall see.
Yeah.
I feel like Polyev. Do you think Polyev actually knows that, or is he sort of being the useful idiot? Is he just sort of, do you think he's a willing participant, or they're just playing up that he's not? He's so incompetent. He's not.
I personally believe that that was his role. Yeah. He knew what he was doing. That was his role all along. It's very easy for me to believe it, considering that he is a lifelong politician, and he's a WEF. Like he doesn't talk against the WEF. He didn't talk against the COVID lockdowns. He did not take a stand on anything. He's always been soft, and he always flip-flops to whatever's popular. That is Pierre Polyev. So then and there, he doesn't stand for anything. And he will change his tune 100%. So it's very hard for me to look at him and say he's being truthfully himself. Like it seems to me that there's an agenda, and I think he played his role, and his role was to have Trudeau destroyed, have him step down so that Carney can take power. That's personally how I see it. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. But at the very least, the fact again that he's not doing those podcasts is showing me that there is something fishy. I believe that there's something fishy. No matter what you think it is, something's wrong with this guy. You don't blow a 20, 30 points lead and just take it up the ass and say, no, you know what? Like, as you said, could I have more, sir?
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
you just don't. You just don't.
And I think, we've framed things in this way a little bit, but I think it helps to look at it this way. Like, is he actually throwing it? Who knows, right? But if you change the framing a little bit and say, if he was trying to throw it, what would he be doing? And I think if he would be doing exactly the things that he is doing. So whether that's
I like how you're using my analogies now.
Yes,
Good for
yes,
you.
exactly.
That's what I was talking about, bro. Fuck, I love it. You're on fire today, man. You were with your girlfriend this weekend.
I was. Yeah, I was.
There you go. So there you go. He's all empty, ready to go.
Recharged, refueled, ready to go.
Good for you. Good for you.
But yeah, I think that's a useful way to change the framing a little bit, because at that point you realize it doesn't really matter if he's doing it intentionally or not. What matters is what he's actually doing, and I think that what he's doing is enough to I think he should be drummed out of politics if nothing changes.
Well, obviously he's not going to be the conservative leader if he loses, like, obviously. But again, it's with 9 years of what the liberals did to the economy, and you have guys like you that are lifelong liberals to say you cannot vote for Carney, and then you turn around and you look at Pierre Poilievre and you're like, man, I can't vote for that. I don't see what the difference is between him and Carney, or what does he stand for? I don't know. This is not good, because this is a free throw. This is literally alone with the basket. Like, this is a gimme.
Just make the layup. Just make the layup.
All you have to do is say something smart. That's it. Just show that you stand for something different, and he's not even able to do that.
Differentiate yourself in some way.
Carney,
I think Carney sort of boxed him in. He came a little bit closer to the center, and Poilievre had no response to it. He had absolutely no response, because he's coming to the left too, and he's basically him and Carney are basically overlapping right now. And no one's gonna, there's no reason for anyone to vote for Carney. There's for Carney, but also for Poilievre. Prairie says the last interview we've seen Poilievre in was that lame ass soft interview with Jordan Peterson. I actually didn't catch that one. How did that go?
What a fucking gimme. No, but you were on Jordan Peterson. Like, that was great. Like, good for him. But
Did he not do well?
No, but it's not the type of podcast where Jordan Peterson's not there to ruffle your feathers either.
Yeah.
Like, he's normally very good at exposing opinions, like getting very intelligent people on the show, very knowledgeable guys on specific subjects, and have them explain what's actually going on. Like, if you want to understand Bill C-63, the hate speech bill, watch the Jordan Peterson interview. Just do Jordan Peterson, Bill C-63. The lawyer that he had on the show explains it brilliantly. So this is what Jordan Peterson's good at. But if you go to a Joe Rogan style podcast or Theo Vaughn type of podcast, shit's gonna come out. He's gonna ask questions that you never fucking expected to be asked. And guess what, bro? You're going to have to answer those fucking questions, or look soft as hell. So that's why that's why he's not doing them. I agree. I totally agree.
And it just means he's not confident in himself. And that's such a bad look for your prime minister.
100%.
Cheryl says, I wish politicians were like the two of you. You're authentic. We desperately need people like the two of you to represent Canadians. I mean, I don't know if we'd pass the vetting process. I don't know if I'd pass the background checks required. However, I would completely agree that authenticity is the number one thing that people are just starving for.
It's interesting you say that, because I know a few guys personally that should be politicians. They've been approached. I have one in specific. Yes, Randy, I'm talking about you. If he's been approached by both the left and the right, doesn't want to run. It's not him. But those are the type of people you want. Like, I'm not interested in.
It's always the people that should, like, they're never interested, right? Because they don't. They're usually not like you have to have a certain sort of I don't know, self-centeredness to really want to do that, or sort of arrogance. And now if you look at it as service, then sure, I agree. It's just most politicians do not view it as service anymore.
No.
The ones who do view it as service are the ones that we need, but they don't want to, because they look at the cesspool that politics is and they say, I don't want any part of that.
As much as I know that one day I probably will end up in it, I don't want to do it. I have no interest to do it. No, that would not be for me. It would be to help.
Yeah.
But those are the people you normally want, but I wouldn't want to do it. It seems like, man, that is not an easy job. If you're going there as an outsider to say, we're going to change some shit.
Oh yeah.
And you're painting a massive target on your back.
The system will deal very aggressively with any perceived threat, right? Whatever
it's not me. Like, I don't care what you do to me, but to my family, that's why you don't see my wife on my social media. That's why you won't see my kids. That's why you don't see my family on social media. Attack me all you want. My family's a different story, and that's where it would be hard. Putting your family in the limelight, I'm not sure I'm good with that. I'm not good with that.
Joe says that's exactly how the Dems lost in 24. Yep. I mean, correct. This sort of dynamic we're talking about, this shift in media, I think the first place you saw that was probably the election back in November.
100%.
Kamala probably had no chance anyways, but if she was going to have a chance, it would only have been if she had gone on a Rogan's show and maybe.
But she's not likable, and that's all it shows, is that she's not a likable person. Just like, imagine Hillary Clinton doing a 2-hour podcast. Yeah. It wouldn't take long for you to dislike her.
No, exactly. Let's see. Cheryl says the Jordan Peterson interview was good. She says, "Who cares about background checks?" Yeah, I was just messing around, more or less. I mean, I'm coming in the same boat as Nico. If the stars aligned, I would certainly be into it. But it's not. It's maybe something for the future. I think anybody who feels like there's a problem with the system and feels like they have somewhat of a solution, it's crossed their mind once or twice, but we shall see. Who knows? Maybe this show will be the launching point for our political careers. We should probably cut back on the swearing and the
stick to anal.
Yeah. Have to go back and scrub a lot of these episodes.
Whoops.
And Cheryl says it wouldn't be easy to go as desperately needed, though. I mean, I do agree. Just authenticity in general, people who are just real, who recognize problems, who have value systems. And it seems like, if it seems like no one's stepping in to fill that void, I'm sure, people like me and Nico will eventually step up, and maybe there's a time and a place for that. And maybe it's soon. I'm not exactly sure, but.
And unlike you, bro, I would not change who I am. I would show up to, if I were to do it, I'd show up in a t-shirt to an interview. I'd swear left, right,
why would you think I would change? Why would you think I would change who I am?
But you said you would scrub. You said you'd scrub your episode.
Oh, no,
I would not change it. But this is just who I am. You don't like it, go fuck yourself at this point. You don't have to vote for me, right?
So you'd have to be like that.
Yeah.
Jason Harris is the only person I would never tell Nico, why do you hate women so much? Yeah, but you can hate Harris. You can hate Kamala. Yeah, the swearing is awesome. I know for sure, Cheryl. I'm just messing around too. We when we started this show, we were like, you know what, we're just gonna be we're not gonna fuck with, but we're not gonna try to be anything else. And if that's the reason it doesn't take off, then so be it. But again, I think we feel like there is this authenticity gap, whether we're talking politics or media in general, and we're trying to just be ourselves, because I think that's the best way to connect with your audience.
What I'm saying is what I believe. It's worse. It's worse than what I say. I'm not putting on a show. I don't have.
It's only not to get us banned from. Yeah.
That's it. That is the only reason, man. That's the only reason.
Well, I think so. We went half hour over. I mean, sometimes we do that. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the questions. Again, you could have been anywhere in the world here today, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you for that. Please do like and share the stream. That's probably the biggest way you can help us out at this point. And other than that, I think that's it for me. Nico, what do you got to add?
That's it. Thank you for being here. As always, thank you for being here. I apologize if last week was rough because some of those episodes were not as good, and that's me because I was on the road, but I just did not want to stop doing them. So
No, of course. I think most people would be happy that we just did what we could.
and
Anyways,
hopefully tomorrow my background looks properly, my camera's set up properly because I literally got here at 1 o'clock
threw
in
it
the
together
morning.
at the last minute.
Yeah, we got here late last night and tried to do it this morning, but at least I'm here. Thank you for being here.
All right. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much for being here. Again, we couldn't do it without you. We love you guys, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.